Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Three in the Keystone, episode 42. You know who we got to dedicate it to then? Brittany Griner,
Free BG.
Free BG. It is Monday. We are recording this on Monday. If you are listening, we won't be releasing till Wednesday, so we're going to have to do our traditional Tuesday never happened. So anything that happens tomorrow, you won't be hearing it tonight. I'll do some scheduling. We are taping again on Monday. I got Al Ryan. I got Chris Guest. I'm Adam Seltzer. We'll have a special guest for segment 3 tonight, as it's NFL draft week, and we're going to do some draft trivia on top of some draft debate.
Seltzer, I'm really excited for the draft stuff tonight. I got to be honest with you.
You're going to have to lead the charge.
I think I'm the most nervous. I sat there for probably a good hour putting together these questions, and I just had no basis on how hard or how easy to make them. I had no idea where to go with it.
Yeah, because I don't even know if are you gonna. I mean, without giving too much away, but you're gonna ask like what teams pick certain players in certain rounds, or are you gonna ask like colleges?
There's different categories. You'll see what they are, and
Right.
then what I did was I worded the questions in such a way where if I'm going through them and I notice that they're a little too easy, I can take certain wording out of questions. You know what I mean? And then if it's vice versa, I can add some things to questions to give you a little more of a hint for some of these guys.
I can tell you this. When we did Liam's game with the stats, I ran away with it. When we did Jobber versus Golfer, I beat Chris. I will not be winning tonight. I will not be winning.
I was gonna say I'm not doing well in these games, so I'm like plus 500 for this.
Wow. Okay. Well, then maybe I shouldn't have brought on our special guest.
No, because
a ringer.
We need a challenge.
I'm a big draft guy, but just from the pace of how it's been playing out, I don't know if I haven't been testing well in these games we've been playing.
Oh, well, the teacher becomes the student, Chris.
There you go.
Well, let's jump into segment 1. We'll get to some draft talk later. Sixers close out the Nets 4-0. Probably not the main story, but let's touch base on games 3 and 4 quickly. Let's start with game 3, a little bit of a chaotic basketball game to say the least. Give me your first thoughts immediately when you see Embiid kick Nick Claxton while he's laying on the floor.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was
Stupid.
He let him get to him. He let him get into his head.
I would have thought that Claxton stepped on his knee or had done something terrible to him. And then the replay showed, and obviously he's stepping over him. It's disrespectful, but it's just an idiotic move to make. 3 minutes into a basketball game, a playoff game?
Yeah, it's showing he's letting his emotions get the best of him. He's showing how frustrated he is in that series, despite being up 2-0 at the time and playing a team that is inferior to you, playing against an opponent in Nick Claxton who is inferior to you. He just let his emotions get the best of him, and sometimes that happens. But we've Adam, you and I have criticized Joel Embiid a lot, and this is another criticism. He's got to mature. He can't do that. He's lucky that the refs didn't throw him out, which they should have.
Yeah, I thought that he should have gotten ejected from that game because of that. However, it's a lot easier for us to all sit here and say he should have done this and that. We don't have another grown man stepping over us and disrespecting us like that.
But listen,
that's the code of the streets.
No doubt. You gotta stand up for yourself. You can't let that happen. But all he has to do is push him with his hands, and it's a technical foul.
Oh,
when
no
he starts
doubt.
to try to kick a guy in the that's stupid.
No, yeah. I agree, and I agree with you. I think he should have been ejected. I thought it was a little much, but do I understand why he did it? Yes. Do I think he should have done what he did specifically? No.
Yeah, I get it too. But like Adam said, get up and get in the guy's face, push the guy, shove the guy. I don't know, man. It's just that's too reactionary. Like that's too fast. Like you got to be able to process. Again, it's maturity. That comes with maturity. We've all been in positions in our lives now at this point. We're all in our mid-30s where something has happened, where somebody has said something to us or stepped to us in a way where we wanted to be the karma police. But you have to have that not only that voice in the back of your head, but that restraint where it's like, I got more on the line if I want to act a certain way, to act that way. I have to be able to restrain myself. And Joel Embiid doesn't have that yet.
And I think it's also funny that it's ironic that in Philly we're sitting here talking about, being upset about a guy stepping over a guy when Iverson's
right.
one of his signature, moments in the NBA was stepping over. And I'll be honest, I mean, as a 37-year-old now, and seeing that, like, I don't know how Tyronn Lue didn't just get up and go and just black out. Like, I mean, that took a lot of like maturity and restraint to be able to just be like, all right, you got me, and keep playing after that. Because not only did he step over him, he looked at him like, yeah, cuz, what's up? And just like, it was so disrespectful.
I think Lou, it was perfect because he was still so naive. He was,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, that's his first big spot. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. It's a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And if you remember that game, Lou was holding Iverson the whole time, like literally holding him.
Yeah.
And that was just Iverson's frustration all just coming out like, you like, get off me. This was going to happen. And I know that's why you holding me, because you scared of this.
But let's be real, and again, you don't know what's going on in that moment out, maybe, being naive. But that game's in overtime when that happens. The last thing Tyronn Lue can do is get a technical foul in that situation.
Well,
Right? That's composure.
And today's NBA, Iverson gets a technical foul for that easy.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have never happened now.
I mean, Nick Claxton got tossed for less later in game 3.
When men played in the NBA back then, that was his ball.
Speaking of toss, James Harden gets tossed later in game 3. And while the Nets are going on a run, I was shocked. I can't fact check this. I heard him say in a post-game interview it's the first game he's ever been thrown out of.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah. And I mean, unless, what's his face? I'm going blank on who he hit.
Not Bridges, O'Neal.
Unless O'Neal had his junk tucked up to his chest, I don't know how he got hit in the junk on that play. That, to me, it didn't look at him that low.
I didn't think it was ejection worthy, but
you said what?
I didn't think it was ejection worthy.
No, not at all. I mean, that happens literally every game. Someone tries to get separation off the ball by pushing off on the midsection of a player. Like, is it an offensive foul? Probably. But he didn't even fully extend his arm.
Right. He was trying to push off. He wasn't. There was no intent there.
No, and there was enough for the separation, but like, come on, man. Like, you make up fouls, not make up ejections. That was ridiculous.
James Harden was ejected in the 2017-18 season with the Rockets.
Oh, really?
I don't. Yeah, all it says is he was ejected. I don't know why or what happened.
Bad info from James. But Harden gets thrown out. Sixers have a terrible third quarter. Tyrese Maxey takes us home. What essentially would end the series. We're going to go up 3-0. But then we got the bad news after the game. Joel Embiid sprained knee, was going to miss game 4. Sixers come out sluggish in game 4. They put their foot on the neck, I thought, in the second half. Tobias Harris, another really, really good game, 25 and 12. Paul Reed was tremendous in the second half, 10 and 15. Harden and Maxey combined 10 for 38 from the floor, but they survived. Anthony Melton also a really good fourth quarter. My question to you guys before we jump into some of the Joel stuff, if you had to give an MVP for the series, who are you giving it
to? Me personally, there's no MVP when you sweep a team 4-0. I mean, they clearly were outclassed. Brooklyn was. But if I have to give an MVP, for me, it's Tyrese Maxey, because Tyrese Maxey won that game 3 for them. And really, I think without him, with Joel not being on the floor, probably is the catalyst for them winning game 4. He leads the team in scoring for the series, 21.8 points, 47% from the field, and an even higher percent, 50% from 3. He played a team high 37 minutes per game, and he only turned the ball over 4 times the entire series. So he took the scoring load off of Joel's shoulders in game 2. He wins them game 3. I can't say enough good things about this kid. I mean, he is the future of this franchise. I better see him in a Sixers jersey for a long time to come.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will at this point. I think he's definitely earned himself to make that rookie, probably even the rookie max at this point. He had 33 in game 2. Didn't have a strong game. What was it, game 4? I think it was.
4, he only had 16 or 17 points, and he was less than a point per shot.
But I feel like it was, I mean, he was 6 for 20 and 1 for 4 from 3 in game 4. But I feel like the shots he did, like, I feel like they were still big buckets, though.
That third quarter, I think he had 10 in the third quarter when they made that run.
Right. And his percentage wasn't great, but showing up in the moment, I think, was right on time for him in that game. Tobias was awesome this series.
He was.
That's the other option that you could possibly go with.
Yeah, I mean, he was like his mid range, that turnaround jump shot. He makes that shot look easy. If you go to the gym right now, that's a tough shot. Like, and it looked like he's going off the wrong foot at that. But like, that's a tough shot to make routinely, like he does.
When you guard him with smaller players, he can make them pay because he's deceptively strong. When he backs down in the post, and again, we're talking about the Royce O'Neals and even the Bridges or the Dinwiddies when they put him on him, he gets to that spot in the 15, 20, 12 feet and hits that fadeaway jumper. He had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 57% from the floor, 57% from 3, and 100% from the line. He was awesome.
Yeah, and I think I don't know about like there's been games where, and even in this series, where he'll back down a guard and the guard doesn't move. So like I don't know if he's deceptively strong or not, but I think he is deceptively like wide, and his height is definitely it definitely creates mismatches for those guys that they put on, because a lot of teams will throw a guard at him,
Right.
because they'll put their better defender on either Joel or Maxey or Harden. And so he'll probably end up getting other teams like third or fourth best defender.
Right.
And he can make them pay with that turnaround jump shot as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, like teams like to put length on James. For instance, you saw a
Right.
lot of Mikal Bridges on James, and that's the Brooklyn's 3 or 4 guy who would normally be guarding Tobias, and all of a sudden now Tobias is getting, again, Dinwiddie, or maybe a Royce O'Neal who he still has size over. And he made him pay, and he was great the entire series.
This team has options, they have weapons, and this is exactly what they need to do to be successful in this postseason. Is when a James Harden's getting locked down, he's not comfortable, he's not able to get to the paint and get that layup, or when Joel Embiid is getting doubled out at the top of the key or wherever. Guys like Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, they have to step up, and they did in this series. I thought this was almost a perfect series for the 76ers. I want to ask you guys one question. I know you might have looked it up already, as far as Tobias Harris's shooting percentage for the series. Do you know what he shot from 3-point range as far as percentage, and then where that ranks him among the playoff leaders this year?
Well, I just said 57% from 3.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening, but
It's not bad.
It's the reveal, fans.
where's that rank him though in this year's playoffs? Which this is sick.
I mean, 57%, I would say, based on your comment, it's probably not as high as you would think. So I'm gonna say like 4th.
Yeah, he's tied for 6th.
Yeah.
Who's ahead of him?
So from 1 through 6, Duncan Robinson. Now I don't know how many.
That's our boy.
That's
Yes,
Get it in.
The 3K podcast owner. I think he has an NIL deal with us. Duncan Robinson, 77%. Rui Hachimura, 75%.
That's also my guy.
That's probably like 3 for 4, I would imagine. Jimmy Butler, 67%. Ja Morant, 62%. Kawhi, 60%. And then Jokic and Harris are tied at 57. That's sick. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Dude, the NBA is nasty right now, man. Like,
you have to shoot better than a coin flip from 3 to be among the top 10 in the league.
And you didn't even name the Splash Brothers in that.
Right.
Well, they take too many to be shooting up in the 60%. That's just not
right.
possible.
But I'm saying, but they're still elite shooters, though. I mean,
Steph's at 40%. He's in 34th in the playoffs at 40%.
But what does that go to show you, Al? It goes to show you, how do you win in the NBA today? Guard play. Shoot the ball.
That's right.
Let's get into it because it got feisty in the text thread.
Are we ready to pivot?
No.
It'll be discourse.
We're gonna let you and Al have your little Embiid vent, and I'm gonna chill. I'm not even gonna say nothing.
No.
Give it up.
We're gonna have you read your text that you sent us.
You want to read text? I can read text.
So after the fact, so the listeners don't know, right? If we would have recorded this during or after Game 3, it was bad. It was bad, right? But Chris, you went on to say something about Joel Embiid afterwards.
What you talking about Saturday?
Right. What did you say?
I've been saying that.
No, not here.
I'll read it verbatim. I'll read it verbatim because this is going to be the 8 Mile moment. I'm gonna read it verbatim.
Go ahead.
If Embiid can't be on the court again in the second round and healthy enough to contribute, then they got to start having some internal conversations about the future direction of this team. Hate to say it, but they'd have no other choice. I said that earlier in one of the other episodes in the beginning of the season. He has to stay healthy. You're right. But my beef always with you guys was it never happened yet. Now we're here. Now I get it. I can see there and I can say, right, the injuries popped up again. It can't keep happening.
But you can say it hadn't happened at the time, but it had happened 4 years in a row to the point where you had to see it coming.
Okay, but again, I live in the moment. I live in the present. Now it's happened. I'll deal with it. But I can critique him and say that without putting him down. You guys are the ones who sit there and you say, when he scores 52 on Boston or whatever it was, yeah, this guy is
don't care. Don't care.
Yeah, and then he sits there,
and
then he sits there and he has a bad game 3, which mind you, game 1 and 2 was decent games. Game 3 is a bad game. On the court as well as mentally, he had a bad game.
But he can't do that. Like
how the guy is a baby, how he is, do you want to trade him, how you want to do all this stuff over one game.
No, and it's not over one game. It's not over one game.
It's over the last 6 years.
Yes.
Last 6 years, Chris. Dude, we can't. We're not going to sit here. We're not going to talk regular season at all because neither Adams nor my comments have ever been about regular season Joel. It's always playoff Joel. He's hurt every year. It's a thumb. It's an eye. It's a stomach virus. It's a knee. It's an ankle every year. And I know that that's not necessarily, quote, his fault, but his body just breaks down after playing more than 60, 70, 80 games in the course of a season. We've seen it 6 years in a row now. Dude, game 3 Embiid is everything that I hate about Joel Embiid in the playoffs. His body language from the opening tip was piss poor. He spent more time on the floor than going up for rebounds. Every time you looked at him, he was pouting. He was dude, the wide open look under the net when he traveled, what the hell was he doing? That was Ben Simmons 2.0. I don't know what he was doing. It's like he loses all confidence in himself at some points, and you can't have that from your franchise guy, MVP of the league, the guy that's supposed to be taking your team to the title. You can't have that.
Well said. Well said.
I'm not saying that his attitude has been ideal. It's not always ideal. My thing is, and I mentioned this in the chat, and I just said earlier, you win in the NBA with wings and guards. If you're expecting to win with the center as your best player, you're 9 times out of 10. Never before has that been even more true than with the Sixers. Embiid is a generational player. Embiid will be MVP this year, and they still may hit a ceiling because he's their best player. You can't win like that. That is definitely not his fault.
But Chris, if you go back, we're all in agreement that that's very difficult to win with the center if it's possible at all. But in the biggest moments of his career, he hasn't shown up. I was looking today at some of the stuff against Atlanta when we choked that series away. Did you know in game 4, the Sixers are up 2-1? Do you know what he shot in the second half of that game? 0 for 12. He was 0 for 12 in the second half.
He's also got 4 guys on him. He's getting double and triple teamed.
0 for
anybody
12.
In basketball.
You couldn't make one basket. 0 for 12?
Dude, I get it, but you're acting like he's sitting there just missing wide open dunks. Like this guy literally has 2 or 3 of the best defenders on any given playoff team on him every single game. He's going to get beat up.
Toronto game 7, he was a no-show. Like you gotta see some of this stuff. Like,
but he's going to get beat up. That's the nature of the game at this point. Teams are going to be able to make the court smaller for bigs. They just are. Now you have guys like Jokic who put up 43, whatever other night that he put up. He's not getting double teamed nearly as much as Embiid is.
Correct, but that's partially because of his skill set. Is their skill set that's better than Embiid? Where if they double and triple him, he's a better passer than Joel. That's part of the reason why he doesn't get that double. I agree. Joel gets different coverages. And I didn't critique Joel's game 1 and 2 when I thought he just played with the right energy and made the right pass. My issue with game 3 was we're dribbling the ball. He's standing 3 feet behind the 3-point line, not even interested in catching the ball because he knows he's going to get triple teamed. If that's the case and you don't want the ball, go under the hoop because you got Royce O'Neal on you and you can at least help with some offensive rebounds.
I think the reason he doesn't go and they don't have him set up in the post deep is because he can't see the whole court. If he's going to get double or triple team, first of all, you're making it easier for a team to double or triple you the deeper you get into the basket.
I'm not even saying you got to throw him the ball. I'm saying run your offense and let him be in the dunker spot then and grab offensive rebounds because he was just standing on the perimeter doing nothing.
The other, and that's fair. The other thing is, he can't see the court as well the deeper he is to pass out of those double and triple teams. So that's why I think they also have him set up a little bit higher along like by the elbow and at the top of the post and things like that. Now, maybe that's something
pushed out to the 3 line. He's getting pushed out to the 3 line.
Right. And maybe that's things that they should be working on with him, whether it be right now or off season or whatever the case may be, because that's the next part of his evolvement is he's got to be able to get deep and be able to still see the court.
These are deficiencies that he's had for 6 years. And I was just about to say that, Chris, is why hasn't he worked on this? This is the part of the game that he's missing. This is the part of the game that I've personally defended for the last 6 years when people, when Sixers fans, and especially the old Ben Simmons fans would say, we have to get rid of Joel because he can't play in the paint. He spends too much time on the perimeter. But that's what makes him great is that he can do that. Now, come playoff time, he has to be able to do both. And he hasn't been able to do that. So why isn't he working on that? That's something that he needs to get better at.
But let's not act like he don't work on things and get better every year.
No,
He's gotten way better at a double team.
I didn't say
He's gotten way better as a jump shooter from 3. All right, there's things he's worked on that he has improved upon the last couple of years. Now that's one that again, I think that I don't have an answer for you. I think I agree with you. He should that is something that they should be working on to evolve him and his total package skill set is to be able to just get not only comfortable being deeper in the post and passing out of that, but also backing dudes down. If you get doubled, you're still the biggest guy out there.
Right.
They're going to foul you.
And
But with that said, it's a double-edged sword because the more you get fouled, the more what happens. Slap, slap, rip, scratch.
but
You're going to get hurt.
He always invites that contact anyway. I want you to think about it this way. When they went small and had Royce O'Neal covering him, if he's able to catch the ball on the elbow, it's one power dribble and he's at the rim and he's getting fouled. When he catches it on the perimeter outside the 3 line, it's 3 or 4 dribbles to get to the rim. And with the double and triple teams coming, you know what's happening when he's got to pull the ball on the floor.
You're right. You're right. Game 3, he got no calls. He was trying that a few times early in the game. He got no calls.
Yeah, no,
led to his frustration.
that's a playoff whistle, though.
He got no calls, but also
frustration.
When you're flopping around on the floor all over the place, you're not going to get those calls.
Well,
I mean, you saw the video, the compilation video of him, how many times he fell like 9 times that game.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of these foreign guys, these guys from overseas that come here and they still have that soccer mentality. I don't know if he's like that. I know he's a big soccer fan. The flop thing has been around a long time. For my money, when Ginobili and Tony Parker and those Spurs guys came over, that's when it really started to blow up in the NBA, where guys would just literally look at somebody and just flop out and just try to draw fouls. It's gotten worse and worse. The NBA refs have allowed it to get worse and worse to an extent. Do I think he falls down more than he probably should? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does that lead to him getting hurt more or increasing the chances of getting hurt? Absolutely. But with all that being said, man, like if you're coming into this series or any series and expecting Embiid as a center, I don't care how good he is, to give you 33 and 11 on averages like he did in the season, it's not going to happen.
I'm not saying I need that, but I need more than what he gave me in this. I
Can't
need
be 20
more.
11.
I need better body language from my leader than I got in game 3. That's
so
what
you're talking more about leadership than performance.
Yes. I thought game 3, I didn't think he was there. And if it's a playoff game, I need you there. Like, I don't care if it's a back-to-back in January and you want to check out for a night. Like, will that frustrate me? Sure. But the playoffs is 28 games at most. I need you there every single one.
Yeah, and he definitely can't do this against Boston. He can get away with it against Brooklyn. He's not going to be able to do this against Boston.
Well,
He's not going to be able to do it. But Chris, you ultimately listen. I don't want to harken back to old arguments, but you ultimately are again. You're repeating the point that Adam and I made a while back, which is if you cannot win with Joel Embiid playing the center position as your best player on the floor. And especially this season where now we've gotten to see 82 games, we've gotten to see 86 games, and we have the best team around him that we put around him, period. In my opinion, when you look at, we've always said we got to surround him with shooters. We got to surround him with shooters. We've surrounded him with shooters.
They led the league.
6 guys that can shoot the rock right now.
They led the league.
Right? So if we can't win this year, then what are we doing? What are we doing with him?
I just want to make.
At some point, we all loved Allen Iverson. At some point, we all realized we have to move on. We cannot win the game. We cannot win a title with him and the way he plays. And the league was different then. It's the same thing. We all love Joel Embiid, but you have to at some point be able to admit, we got to let him go. We're not going to win with him.
I'm not willing to say that yet. I am willing to say that if this can, like, so for instance, if and I can already see it in my head, he doesn't play 1 and 2, comes back when we come back home, and the series really starts game 3 versus game 1. But just like last year,
would be over at that point.
I would say just like last year, we were already behind the 8 ball. And of course that's frustrating, but I'm not willing to say just yet that I think you guys are willing to say now, like you're willing to hitch your wagon to the idea that Embiid is not a championship player.
No, I'm not saying that.
That's not what I've never said that.
Okay.
I want to change Al's semantics a little bit. Al said you cannot win with Joel Embiid as your best player. I want to change it. You cannot win with Joel Embiid as your best offensive player.
That's more, yeah, that's fair.
So, for instance, if the Sixers acquired, I think ideally they wanted Harden, a Damian Lillard who could go and score at will. I think Embiid is still the best player on that team, but Damian Lillard may be the best offensive player in the playoffs.
Well, even with the team right now, you can have a situation where Harden or Maxey can be your best guy on any given night, and Embiid is still going to give you 20, 12, and 3-4 blocks.
But
and you're fine with that.
I don't know if I can count on that. Like, I don't think I'm ready to.
He gave you 2 out of 3 games. He gave you that.
No.
He was a mess. That was one
I don't
game.
know if I'm not ready to count on Harden or Maxey being the best offensive player for a series.
Well, if you look at the matchup against Boston, Maxey has work to do. But Harden's actually played really well against Boston this year.
Yeah, but is it the same James Harden post Achilles injury? Because his finishing at the rim in that Brooklyn series was terrible.
Oh, it was awful.
The level of competition is about to go way up. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
Watching Boston against the Hawks, man, Boston, they were, what are they, 8 deep? And they just throw guys at you. Like a guy like Derek White is potentially the best player on that Nets team. And he's their 4th option?
He's probably their 3rd option at this point.
Their 3rd option, probably right in front of Smart. Okay.
But I think
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the thing that sucks about with the Celtics is it's been not Tatum or Brown that's really killed the Sixers this year. It's been Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. If you look at the stats of all the games this year, those two guys have been an Achilles heel for us big time, especially Brogdon. And when Derek White gets going from 3, that's why Boston's so dangerous. They got 4 or 5 guys that can just go off any given night. Most teams don't have that.
Right. How many guys on Brooklyn could score 3-point line, mid-range, and at the rim? Realistically, how many guys?
With consistency, there's not any, because Mikal can't do it consistently in a 7-game series.
Not as a number 1.
Right. No, I was gonna say I think he can be consistent, but not at the level that they need him to be.
No, not if it was like a 2-2 dogfight all of a sudden and we're just throwing everything at him. He's not doing that.
Boston's got 4.
That's what I'm saying.
At a minimum.
Real quick, going back to the Nets. I looked at even more so now. Bridges to me looks like a poor man's Tatum. What do you think about that? He with the ball, he reminds me of Tatum. He has moments where he can off the dribble hit a big 3 like Tatum. He can drive to the rim with height and size like Tatum. He can shoot, gets fouled, shoots free throws consistently like Tatum at a high level. He can score at all the levels of the court. But I don't really know. I don't know what it is exactly that is holding him back from being like, I think he can be a star player. I don't think he's a superstar. I think the way that Brooklyn is set up right now, I think if he goes into the year next year as a number one for them, he's going to average 28 a game. But that's still in the. I mean, we had how many? What, 6 guys averaged 30 plus this year?
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's like the league again continues to evolve and get better. 28 is not all of a sudden now. That's not going to be enough.
I think he's definitely he's not even a second best player on a championship team.
Yeah,
maybe a third.
Yeah, if he's the second best, you got to have like a 2A, 2B, 2C kind of situation.
Yeah, I'm not as big on Bridges as others because again, with what we saw in this series, after game one, and I say game one, it was probably the first half of game one. He didn't shoot the ball particularly. He didn't shoot the ball well at all.
So you think Maxey is the number 2 on a championship team?
Potentially.
Not right now.
Potentially down the line.
How can we say that when he's not? He's a shell of Bridges defensively.
It depends on the
I
team.
said not right now.
Would you rather have Bridges or Maxey?
Maxey.
Oh my God.
I'd rather have Bridges.
Maxey just won us 2 games in that series. Like I'd rather have Maxey.
You think Maxey would have?
But if Bridges was playing off of Joel and Harden, he could have very well done the same thing. Bridges,
yeah, and listen, I'm willing to give Bridges probably a little more credit than we are here because he's playing with a team that how many games did they play together this season? They get thrown into the playoffs, kind of thrown to the Wolves playing the Sixers. I mean, that's a bad matchup for them. The only thing that I just see with Bridges is like I don't know if he can ever do enough offensively because you see guys all the time get the usage and they put up monster numbers. I just don't see him as being that guy.
I think I would take
Bridges or
Maxey.
Bridges.
Because Bridges can do it on both sides of the ball.
You think the Nets won a game in that series if they had Maxey instead of Bridges?
No.
No, I don't think that matters. No.
Okay.
No.
And again, Maxey is further away from a finished product than Bridges. Bridges is still young, but not Maxey young. Bridges what, 26, 27?
He's a man. Yeah,
yeah. So
it's
a good question, but I would rather have Bridges. I'll take the size and the wing.
I agree 100%. And he's got a championship pedigree. He's older. He's a 4-year guy from college. The whole thing. He's more experienced, better defender, better height. But Maxey's turned into a more consistent. I mean, Maxey's a top 3-4 shooter in the league at this point. I
think Maxey's ceiling is like he's a shorter Devin Booker. I mean, Dame Lillard's 6'2". Like I just see Maxey's ceiling as right now. Like he's doing everything. He's shooting the lights out. The only thing I mentioned in the text is if he can learn how to control his body a little bit more on those breakaway, the when he cuts to the hoop, because a lot of times he just kind of throws himself wildly in the lane. The refs see that. And so he's
not getting calls yet for that.
Yeah, they're not going to give him a call because he looks like he's out of control. If he can manage a way now to kind of get his body a little more under control where he can draw a little bit more of contact or maybe just, I don't know, hesitate for a second to let the defender bump him, that's the next step in his game. Because if he gets that, his first step is second to none in the league right now. I think that makes him unstoppable offensively.
And he's even gotten a lot better man-to-man defensively, but he's still not great off switches. I feel like he still has work to do with that. When they throw screens and switches at him picks and switches on him, I think he still leaves something to be desired. But he's gotten better when he mans up guys and ISOs and things like that.
He also needs to become a better passer in time.
Yeah, that's it.
He does. Yeah. They don't. I mean, but they don't ask that of him.
Correct.
Not yet. Not right now.
No, not yet. No,
next year when James leaves.
Right. Eventually, without Harden, he does have to be able to do that. I understand. I get it.
So let's talk a little bit about the Boston series. Obviously, the main thing out there is Joel's health. If Joel doesn't play every game in the series, we don't have a shot.
Nope.
My question to you guys, though, let's assume he does play. What do the Sixers need to do to beat the Boston Celtics?
You want to go first, though?
Number one is the health, so we'll skip that. But if he is healthy, Joel Embiid, and I hate that earlier I said that like we're not winning a title with Joel Embiid as our best player, and here we are sitting the only team in the East sitting in the semifinal.
Only team at all, the whole league.
Right, but like I said, it is. I'm saying what I'm saying because that's the way I feel.
But to be fair, we probably played the worst team in the playoffs, unless you want to say Minnesota.
Right. So Joel Embiid has to give us more than 20 and 11. He has to stay composed. He has to be able to find a way to back down his defender in the paint. I mean, I know that these aren't changes that are going to happen overnight, but he has to do it. Number two, I don't think we can contain Jason Tatum. I think we can try to contain Jaylen Brown. I think if we can hold Jaylen Brown to under 20 in every other game, like Atlanta did in game 3, we should be in a good position to win. Now, you guys might know this. You guys know this better than me. Does that mean a little bit more DeAnthony Melton on the floor?
I think it means more Jalen McDaniels also.
Okay, because I think I'm not saying that's the key, because obviously they have a lot of guys. Derek White, Marcus Smart. We talked about playoff performers last week. Marcus Smart's another guy who's becoming a sneaky playoff guy. Malcolm Brogdon. They do have their players, but I think we can match them offensively with what we have. But I think if we can shut down a Jaylen Brown, then that gives us a chance potentially with Tyrese Maxey, James Harden. And if Tobias Harris keeps it up, averaging 20 points a game or close to it, I think that makes this a series and a winnable one for the Sixers.
So you mentioned Melton, and I was looking at some of Tatum's stats this year because I thought he had struggled against the Sixers.
Yeah.
And if you take out the first game of the year when it was actually the first game of the entire season, the last 3 games, Jason Tatum is averaging 16 points per game on 19 of 52 shooting. And he's seen a lot of DeAnthony Melton in that time frame. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of Melton in this series.
But we held, my point being, they held Tatum in those games and we still only won 1 game.
Correct. And he's broke our hearts in another one.
Right.
Listen, to me, it's really simple. The Celtics are better than the Sixers. If the Sixers want to win this series, they better shoot the shit out of the basketball. And I'm talking they need to probably shoot close to 40% from 3 as a team over the course of the series, and they better get the shots up because the shots are not going to be as easy as they were in the Brooklyn series. Again, I don't see Boston coming with those hard double teams like the Brooklyn Nets did, where we were getting open 3 after open 3, and Tobias and Maxey were wide open. I think you're going to see plenty of double teams, but it's going to be more disciplined. They're going to let Horford, they're going to let Williams try and, handle him as much as he can. And they're going to see if he has it in him to take this team to where it needs to go. So I don't think you'll see as many open shots. And they're going to face again, the problem with the Sixers is the best play they had all year was the Embiid Harden pick and roll. But when they face teams that switch everything, it's not as effective because there's just no real aspect to it that's going to work. And Boston's another one of those teams like Brooklyn that are going to switch every single screen and roll.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that Tatum point, Seltzer, because I think he went like 12 after the first game. I think he went like 12, and then 19 in the 4th game.
Sounds about right.
Or something along those lines. 7 for like the last game when we actually won, he went 7 for 20. But the dagger in that game, again, Derek White had 26 points.
Derek White's good. Like, let's not act like he's an X-Factor. He's just good.
Malcolm Brogdon had 18 off the bench. He also played great defensively. He had a couple clutch threes in that game late in the game. The Sixers got to play fast. They can't let the Celtics get set in their defense. They're all long. They all can defend. They all can guard. I've been saying about Maxey, the reason why I believe he doesn't have the success after that first game in those last 3 games versus Boston is because he's settling for dribbling sideline to sideline, and he's settling for getting the ball and doing what Harden does. He's not Harden. You can't get the ball against Marcus Smart or Malcolm Brogdon or even Derek White or off switches against Tatum or Brown and your Maxey and expect to just do what you want to do. You got to move, catch the ball, be prepared to shoot it right off the bat. Catch the ball, be prepared to gun at the basket off the bat. When they start getting themselves, and even Embiid, when he catches the ball and he looks around and he's waiting and he's surveying the whole court, to me, that's when they get in trouble against Boston because that allows them to get situated. When they get the ball in the Embiid, he makes a quick look to somebody else for a 3 or whatever the case may be. Harden too. Drive and dish. That's when we have success. And if they let Boston just get situated and comfortable in that defensive set when we're on offense, it's going to be a long series. They got length for days. And even with Embiid having good success against Boston this year, and really last year too. Again, it's the playoffs. Things change. Things are different, but they got to play with speed and they got to have that tempo, that pace picked up against Boston. They don't have a shot.
Chris, do you trust Doc to make that call though, to make that change? Because we're the fourth slowest team in the league this season.
That's a great point. And that's the one thing I'm afraid of is that they aren't going to do that, because to me, it looks like Rivers is the kind of coach that lets the players run the game. Honestly, I mean, I like, especially when you got a guy like Harden on the court. Is Harden really coaching that game more than Rivers is a lot of times? I feel like he is. I feel like he makes the games conducive to his skill set. The Rockets did the same thing. When he has the ball, I mean, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, but I would imagine the Rockets' tempo ratings when Harden was their point guard was low like ours is right now. Because that's what you're hitching your wagon to when you have Harden as your starting point guard. You're having sets where he looks and doesn't move for 6, 7, 8 seconds. You're having sets where he's going to dribble and do N1 mixtape for 5 seconds. You're having sets where he's going to make a decision with 5 or 6 seconds up on the clock and pass it off to someone who's going to have a rush jump shot. That's the stuff that we can't have. Mm-hmm. So it feels like to me, a good coach, a better coach, doesn't allow that to happen and dictates to the Sixers that they have to play with up tempo. Brett was good with that. I will say that. Brett was good with tempo. The pass is king. That was his famous phrase. But he was good with that. Rivers, not so much.
I just worry. I don't want to run for the sake of running, especially not with James Harden out there, Joel Embiid out there, 2 guys that are going to tire out. And I also just, if you're not converting a lot of those opportunities or even some of those opportunities, you're just giving the ball back to Boston for a longer amount of time.
Yeah. But I agree with Chris as far as offense. It's going to be imperative to get into their sets and to play with some tempo to get some easy buckets. I just don't know if you want to get in a track meet with Boston, because I think it's playing to their style, especially when they go, if they go White, Smart, Tatum, and Brown. You got 4 really athletic dudes getting up and down the floor. When the Sixers have Embiid, Harris, Harden, just not as much speed or athleticism as Boston. So I think they need to be a little bit careful with that. But
let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
Do you think a hidden gem, a hidden nugget in winning a series like this one coming up? And by the way, I want Boston. I don't want to hear any BS from anybody. Oh, well, you had to play the Hawks and you had to play the Heat. I want everybody. I want the Celtics. I want the Bucks. I want it to play out the way it's supposed to play out. I don't want to dodge anybody.
But we might be getting your Knicks. But go ahead.
Well, and that's fine too.
Nah, we're
New York bias. They're
it'll
going to
be
think the Knicks are.
Milwaukee.
But I'm just saying. I want the smoke. I don't want to play the second tier dudes. Do you think a hidden gem is to play Paul Reed a little bit more against a team like Boston and have Embiid play a couple minutes less than you would expect him to play? Do you think that helps the Sixers a lot to keep it? Like, if you want to have a
define a little more, like how many minutes you talking?
So if you play, I mean, let's say, for instance, I'm going to look up the minutes he played in games 1 and 2, but off the top of my head, let's say you played Paul Reed 12 minutes.
Okay.
No, it just depends. Chris.
In an ideal world, Joel Embiid needs to play 36 minutes. He just does. At a minimum.
I like Paul Reed. He's not. He's going to be the worst player on the floor.
Nah, but he does things.
He does. That's what I'm saying. He's very.
Yeah. No. I get it. He can come in there. He can kind of create havoc in the paint. He can rebound. He can grab some offensive boards. I get that. I just don't know how long his shelf life is against Boston. Right. Boston's a lot better.
But to your point, Chris, if he can take Joel's minutes down from 40 to 37, and all of a sudden he's just a touch fresher down the stretch of games, that's important.
Well,
I'm on board. I agree. I don't think he can do it though.
Embiid played 33 minutes game 1. Paul played 13. And then game 2, which was a dogfight until the fourth quarter, Embiid played 37 and Paul played 11. So, and then game 3 and 4 obviously was skewed because Embiid didn't play the full, didn't play the game at all in game 4, and game 3 was a fiasco. So,
here's the thing with Paul and playoff basketball. In the playoffs, you get exposed for all of your weaknesses. If you can't defend, teams will find you. If you can't shoot, teams will find you. I was texting with Liam yesterday about Isaac Okoro, right?
Mhm.
He's on Cleveland for those of you guys listening. He shot the last 5 months of the season, shot 40% from three. But his reputation throughout his career is that he can't shoot. And what did New York do? They leave him open all the time, and all of a sudden he can't shoot again.
It's Cedi Osman too.
And
He's
right,
another
so
guy.
the your weaknesses will find you. When I look at Paul, like Paul's a very good defensive player. He can switch. He has no issues there. And on the offensive side of the ball, his job is to offensive rebound, which he's really good at, and he can finish around the rim. Like they're not asking a lot of him on the offensive end to where he has that many weak. He can play in the playoffs. Like I don't have any fear of that. However, it's probably not. Chris, you're going to love to hear this. It's probably not a George Niang series.
I told you he can't play after the first series. He cannot get on
Certain
the
matchups.
court.
But like if we were playing Milwaukee and he had to guard like Pat Connaughton, he could be okay.
Dude, I don't want him on the court, man. I like McDaniels. I'm fine with McDaniels. He's a good defender. He can board. He's exciting on defense. He can hit give you 4, 6, 8 points if he needs to. That's fine. I can't. The risk for Niang playing is not worth the reward to me.
It's got to be listen. The main seven have to be the starting five: DeAnthony Melton, Paul Reed, and then you get whatever you get from the other guys on the bench.
Yeah, I just worry about the inexperience and the low basketball IQ out of Paul Reed.
No, he has a low IQ,
but he's gotten better though. He's gotten smarter. Let's give him
gotten better. Still a 10th smartest guy on that floor.
no question.
That's debatable. Some of these dudes.
Let's get to predictions.
Yeah,
because we're dragging this down a little bit. I'm going to throw it to Al first.
I've been pretty heart over head on this pod since I've joined. And so I'm going to try to reverse it. I'm going to say gun to head. What am I choosing here? I can't say that the Sixers are going to beat the Boston Celtics with what I'm seeing, with what I've seen from Boston this year, what I'm seeing from the Sixers, even though they just swept the Nets, limping in with a hobbled Joel Embiid once again. It's a Boston team that has stymied Tyrese Maxey all season long. So I think that we're asking for a lot of things to go perfect for the Sixers to win the series, whereas Boston just kind of needs to maintain their ebbs and flows. I got Boston in 6 because I think that the Embiid injury is going to linger.
Is it possible that Paul Reed is the Sixers Nick Foles in this series?
You're gonna have to eat your words.
I gotta stay.
I was all over because you love Trez. We did a whole segment when they signed Trez. You were loving on Trez.
Yeah, you did. Guess.
Well, like I said, I picked you up on the Paul Reed bus. I picked you up, got a big gulp, and let you drive it for a while.
Yeah, but then you hopped off.
That's what I'm saying. I got a big gulp. I got off the bus. I took a break.
You were on the Trez Express for a while there.
I apologize that my DePaul basketball knowledge was not up to par at that point in time.
I think Paul can have a fun little series for us this year, but I got to stay consistent. Like, is Boston better than the Sixers? Yes. I've been saying all year, though, I just have a feeling the Sixers are going to get over this hump somehow, come hell or high water. So I'm going to stay with that and say they're going to win in 7 games. I can't tell you exactly how that's going to happen. All I'm going with is my gut. That's what I'm going to stick with. I've been saying it from the jump. I got to be consistent. And for the record, we're going to do an emergency pod when that happens, and I might have a tissue box right here.
Hell yeah, dude!
Absolutely. And I hope there's a moment like there was for the Phillies. Like I hope there's like a Reese Hoskins moment or a, you know what I mean, a Bryce Harper moment.
I have Boston in 6. I almost went Boston in 5, but I'm going to give the Sixers the benefit of the doubt. Sixers are a good basketball team, but all year I've been on Boston as the best team in the league. I still think they're going to win the title. It pains me to say that because I hate everything about that organization. But again, we talk about just two-way players and players who can play defense and offense. And I look through the Celtics rotation, and they're just chock full of them. There's just not many weaknesses on that team outside of the fact that they turn the ball over probably a little bit more than they should. And I just don't see the matchup. Their guards are big and their guards are strong. You mentioned Maxey struggles. I think that, White and Smart are two elite defensive players, and Brown and Tatum get into it too. I don't see a way that the Sixers can win 4 games in this series, especially without home court. Again, unless they come out and they just start bombing away from 3 and we start making shots.
And that's why Atlanta was such a perfect matchup for Boston, because Atlanta plays the exact way that we can't play in this series. They play where Trae Young has the ball. They play where he dribbles around, looks for a 3 or an alley-oop at the basket to a rim runner. And that's really they're a pretty simple offense. They're not really a quick offense. They don't really have, they got the Capellas of the world, the Collins of the world. They're not looking to run up and down like that. And it's playing right in the Boston's trap. And that's why it's so important, I feel like, for us to just be fast. If we can be fast in this series, I feel like we can have a chance to be in this series and win this series. But like Al said, is that the game plan officially? We'll see.
And I also want to add this. When I say Boston in 6 and almost in 5, I think it's going to be a very competitive series. I just don't trust this. I think that Boston's a better team down the stretch. So I don't think these games are going to be blowouts. I think they're going to be very, very hard fought games, and I just see Boston winning more of them down the stretch.
2 things real quick before we wrap up. One is, if my prediction is correct, winning the game, that would mean it'll be won in Boston in game 7, which would be euphoric, to say the least. Number 1. Number 2, I got to defend my man once again. Donovan Mitchell. What do you have? 11 points yesterday.
Yeah,
Julius Randle had 7 points. Towns had a couple games where he had 10 points. Other guys are not even playing because they're hurt. Embiid now is hurt. It's not like he's the only superstar that's not that's leaving meat on the bone in this playoffs. Let's just be fair.
Let me say this. Donovan Mitchell has done it before. We haven't seen it from Joel. It's the 5th or 6th time. That's the issue, that we've seen this with him. And let's not put Julius Randle on.
Yeah,
I'm just saying these guys are still
Well,
the stars on their teams.
I
Yeah,
wanted
but
to
you
say
can't
this as
compare
well.
them.
The NBA has to be very disappointed in the way the first round's going, between the Draymond suspension, the Embiid non-suspension, Kawhi's hurt, John Morant's hurt, Joel Embiid's hurt, now De'Aaron Fox is hurt.
Yeah.
It's been a really, really tough, first round for the NBA ratings wise, but their boy LeBron is still in it.
The future Western Conference champions.
I'm getting very nervous that Denver's going to be the team to beat.
No,
No,
I promise you, Denver's not making it.
I hope not. I don't.
They look flat.
That series is the worst, by the way. That's even worse than our series.
I haven't watched this.
I don't know, maybe not.
I
I
haven't
get
watched
blacked
this.
out.
Dude,
Blacked
it's
out.
awful.
Don't even put it on TV.
Like, even the Minnesota crowd in that game yesterday, I turned it off at halftime. But the Minnesota crowd is like, it's the 30th game of the year. Like,
Well,
they don't.
imagine having to cheer for Rudy Gobert for 80 some
Oh
odd
my
games.
God, it's terrible.
Ant showed up though.
Yeah, he did.
He's got to get out of there, man. He's got to get out of there.
They're not going
Yeah,
to
that
get
place.
him up.
That's a loser spot.
But speaking about rebuilding, the NFL draft is this weekend.
They're going to say, speaking about losers.
The Eagles have 2 first-round picks, second-round pick. We're going to talk draft needs, what we see happening, and we're going to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks as well. So stay tuned to segment 2 when we talk NFL draft. We'll be right back.
Hang on.
Welcome back to segment 2. We're going to talk NFL draft. And our Philadelphia Eagles, thanks to a trade last year with New Orleans Saints, they'll have the number 10 pick in the first round, as well as number 30 overall, followed by number 62, number 94, and 219 and 248. So 6 overall picks in the draft. Before we get into exact players of who we're looking at for the Birds, why don't we tackle some positions of need that you see would like to have filled in this draft? And I'll throw it to Chris first. Chris, I know you have a lot more college football knowledge than Al or I. You do follow it more than us. So we're going to lean on you a little bit here, segment 2.
Well, I mean, in terms of the Eagles' depth, like where they're, where I think they need to go, or positions of need, this team just is the reigning NFC champions. They were just in the Super Bowl and lost by a field goal, so they don't really have a whole bunch of needs, especially any gaps, like huge gaps. They're in a luxurious position where they can really go a lot of different directions here. As far as like legit needs, like where like there's a hole, not a hole, but like the biggest hole of the bunch, I guess. Uh I would say I guess D line, based on the age of some of the other guys that are there now, Graham and Cox being older, getting that rotational um set to be as good as it's been in previous years. You keep skating on thin ice with these guys that are older, waiting on if hoping that they can stay afloat, so to speak, and still be productive at in their mid-30s. Also, from a safety perspective, I know they got Edmonds from Pittsburgh, but they did lose Gardner Johnson. They did lose Epps, which I haven't been a fan of anyway, but nonetheless, he still was a loss. So that still leaves a little bit of something to be desired there. There's room to be improved there, I think. But other than that, I mean, there's positions where the Eagles build within the trenches. That's not a secret. Offensive line, defensive line. That's where they like to go for the most part. But I think this year might be a little different.
Interesting. So I agree with those positions of need. I had them on my list. I have offensive line on my list as well. I just think that line is starting to age a little bit, and you may not be looking for somebody to impact right now, but if you're looking down the line, it may be a good time to bring in a Lane Johnson, heir apparent, along the way. And obviously, we're going to talk a little bit on running back, I'm sure, as well. There's been a lot of talk about a certain running back in round one, but I also think that's I don't want to say a position of need, but definitely somewhere where you can upgrade your offense for sure.
I think that we've seen the importance of obviously a strong offensive line for many years now, since we've had Lane Johnson on the right side of the line, and he's obviously towards the end of his run. So for me, I would like to see them get somebody that could be the next in line, that could learn a little bit from Lane this year, learn a little bit from Jordan. Obviously, Jason Kelsey is on his way out soon. So I do think the offensive line is a concern. I would like to see the Philadelphia Eagles go out there and make some moves and bring in some kids that are going to be able to play from day one, that are going to put us in a position to step on the throats of the NFC, because we are still the class of the NFC, in my opinion. And I think that we need to treat this draft and the rest of this offseason in such a way that we are just making ourselves more of a powerhouse, more unbeatable, because we're I think head and shoulders, like there's a gap between the Philadelphia Eagles and the rest of the NFC right now. We have the least amount of question marks. And so in my opinion, the way to do that is to build around Jalen Hurts and that offense. I agree with Chris that the defensive line is getting old. We got, Brandon Graham is going to be one of our starters on the end. But I think because of the way, and I don't know how this new defensive coordinator is going to play it, but because of the way we play with these edge rushers, like Hassan Reddick coming off the edge there in the linebacker position, I think that we can get away with potentially taking a guy on the defensive line maybe later in the draft. I don't think we had to take, I know some of these drafts have us taking Nolan Smith, out of Georgia high up. I don't think we necessarily need to do that. And I don't want to do that because we just got to the Super Bowl with arguably the greatest defense in Philadelphia Eagles history, and it wasn't enough. So I want to pour it on the offensive side of the ball, and just put points on the board.
Yeah, and we talk about in the NBA, we talk about how it's wings and guards that are winning titles right now, and offense is in that same boat in the NFL. I mean, Jeffrey Lurie has said now for a few years he really sees that trend for now and the foreseeable future being where the NFL is an offensive-minded league. And that's why they are investing now with the gazillions of dollars into their quarterback that they feel like is a dual threat. I mean, and his numbers have shown that his production, not only with his legs, but also his arm, justify the amount of money he's going to get paid. But I also think, and I don't know if Celtics are going to bring this up or not, but Howie Roseman, in my opinion, threw out a huge golden nugget in his comments the other day in terms of what they were looking for in this draft. Did you guys hear or see what he had said?
I just saw the text that you sent in the thread.
So
say it.
Real quick, I'm just going to read parts of it. So in terms of drafting in the first round with that 10th pick specifically, he said, I think the most important thing when you're picking in the first round, certainly when you're picking at 10, is that you get a unique player. I think there are so few unique players in any draft that if you start picking by position and not based on quality of talent, then you really get a chance. So if you pick by position and you pick a player who's not any good, then it's not a good pick anyway. He went on to say, I think if you start saying, hey, we can only get a unique player, but it's got to be this position, you really narrow your options right there. So just trying to be as open-minded as possible about what that looks like and making sure that whoever we pick is somebody that we think can really impact the game. I don't know about you. That doesn't sound like an offensive lineman to me. To me, and I mentioned to you guys earlier in the week, that, little words like unique talent, or I'm sorry, unique player, open-minded. These are things like Howie has been notorious for not drafting running backs, the Eagles specifically, even more than Howie himself, not drafting running backs in the first round throughout their history, right? It's been 36 years, whatever it was, since they drafted a running back in the first round. This guy Bijan is special, man. And I know that people still are going to hold on to the rule of thumb with the running backs, but to me, there's certain things that I just can't stand in life. Bullies, I can't stand people who are just disrespectful, and I can't stand people who are sheep. And there's a lot of sheep in the NFL. There's a lot of sheep in fan bases. I don't care about what you say when it comes to certain trends. If you have a game-changing player and he's in your lap, find a way to get him. Take him. And if that means picking him a little bit higher than other people would have, then guess whose loss it's going to be when he's an all-pro for the next 4 or 5 years? Theirs, not ours. I'm not saying they got to pick him at 10. They may be a little bit able to do some moving and shaking to be in a better position to take him. But even if they did take him at 10, I would be okay with that.
So is that the guy you want? That's the question. Is that
I was going to say I got a list of top 5 guys that are on my radar, the top 5. Jalen Carter's 1. Bijan is 2. To answer your question, he's the 2nd. So if Jalen Carter's gone, I'm all on board with whatever Howie wants to do to get Bijan on the Eagles. To have that guy who has had comps all over from Edgerrin James to Christian McCaffrey, I've mentioned it before to you guys, to freaking Bo Jackson, to all kind of guys that he's getting comps. Imagine this offense with Christian McCaffrey. Imagine this offense with Saquon Barkley. That's what you're going to see next year if they draft Bijan Robinson. This guy is not just a running back. He is a game changer. He's only been to 2 teams this year. He visited the Eagles and he visited the Bucks. The Bucks, I believe, picked 19. They have Rashad White penciled in as their number 1 running back right now, who they like. But there's no way, in my opinion, that he gets by Tampa at 19, or even I think the Chargers, off the top of my head, I think they have 20, especially with Austin Eckler's situation. No way he gets past 20.
Chris, imagine what having a guy like that in the backfield does for everyone else.
Everybody. And it even helps Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts isn't going to run the amount of times he ran, number 1.
Absolutely.
Number 2, think about you're playing on defense, and over here you got A.J. Brown. Over here you got Devontae Smith. Right here you got Dallas Goedert. Behind an all-pro, all-world center, Jason Kelce, you got Jalen Hurts. And now you're going to throw in Bijan Robinson in front of an elite O-line that was arguably the best in football already?
Right.
Bro.
Yep.
Sign me up, man. I don't care if you pick them first, last, whatever. You got to get all the talent you can. This is, like you said, Al, this is the time to stomp on these guys' throats in this league.
Yeah. With number 10, I want a guy who can make an impact from day 1.
100%.
Out there, make an impact from day 1, and that's Bijan. And I think that all this news about Derrick Henry coming out from Akbar Biamila, the host of American Ninja Warrior, I think that this is all a smokescreen.
That's not going to happen.
Because you know what, Derrick Henry, as awesome as he is, if they brought him in, that has strong DeMarco Murray vibes.
That's not going to happen because of the money he's owed still. But also, do you think that he literally meant Derrick Henry, or do you think he was trying to insinuate that Bijan is the next Derrick Henry?
I don't think he knows.
That's some crypto.
I don't think he knows what the hell he's talking about. He's seen too many guys climbing up walls and hanging off chains over the last 5 years.
Well, he is. I did read that he is in the same agency as Derrick Henry, so he probably does know him or know his people or whatever like that. But still, I don't think that's. I don't see that happening. Like I said, he's owed, I think, $10.3 million this year. He's 29 years old. Why not just get Bijan, who's going to be cheaper? And that's the other thing. Well, you're only going to have him for 4 or 5 years, so you're not going to give him a second contract. We might win 2 rings in them 5 years.
Before
that
you
not worth
mock
it?
me, let me get into, because I'm not for taking Bijan at 10. If he was available at 30, you could talk me into it.
30?
He's
Well,
not going to be. Or whatever the second first. If you want to trade up with your second pick, I'm fine with that to get him. This team, we've all established, is one of the dominant teams in the NFC, if not the dominant team in the NFC. Their ability to pick in the top 10 or top 15, this is probably going to be their last top 10, top 15 pick for some time.
Right.
For me, if I'm picking that high in the draft, I'm looking for a cornerstone player for the next 10 to 15 years. That I'm looking for a Lane Johnson. I'm looking for, and again, I'm saying teams that pick their franchise quarterbacks or their wide receivers or something along those lines that's going to last me a while. Running backs just don't last. And I understand what you're saying, Christian, that, you might win 2 rings in 3 years. But to me, I just paid Jalen Hurts X amount of dollars. My number one priority needs to be to protect him. And I might be looking more at an offensive tackle when I get to the 10th overall pick. And it's boring, and it's not Bijan Robinson, and I get it. But to me, I'm trying to protect that investment on somebody who's going to last me a long time. I put together a list. Let me get my list out.
On your hard copy paper, very on brand for you.
How can you say we might win 2 titles the next 5 years, and then you said but?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm saying that's what Chris said. That's not a
understand.
guarantee. That's not a guarantee.
But if that happened, how does that not justify what they do?
Right.
Listen,
if drafting Bijan gives us the best chance at that, then how's there a but?
I'm not saying it does. I'm repeating what Chris says.
Okay.
I'm not saying it does. I have a list of the running backs drafted in the first round since 2009. Let's go through the list.
I got a rebuttal for that already, but go ahead.
I know Bijan's a different
No.
echelon.
Well, that's
Were
one
you,
of them. But
were
I
you
got another
studying?
one.
Were you studying for the next segment? Go ahead.
It may have helped. Maybe have helped. But listen, let's just go through these guys and let's talk about who's lasted, X amount of years. Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. We're going to jury's out. Jury's out?
Yeah, they're like
I'm just saying since
12 years
2009.
old still.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Agree it's a bust.
He's trash. Yeah, no, he's bad.
Josh Jacobs has been decent.
He led the league in rushing last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was his first really good year.
He's also been on a crappy team for the last 3 years.
Okay.
4 years.
Saquon Barkley.
Injuries.
Probably been a disappointment. Great player, but been a disappointment.
Injuries.
Sure. That happens.
Not performance, injuries.
Okay. Rashad Penny.
Same.
Bust. Sony Michel. Bust.
Well, hold on. I'm not willing to say that Penny's a bust. Penny's had injuries. Penny
He's
led the
been a
league in
bust to
yards
this-
per carry.
No,
He's been a bust to this point.
let him finish. Let him finish, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay. Leonard Fournette. Okay.
Super Bowl.
Not because of him, but okay. The next two.
What do you mean? They got playoff Lenny, they call him.
Okay. Christian McCaffrey's been great.
Superstar. Elite.
Zeke, 5 years, done.
Electric for 5 years.
Yeah, great. Todd Gurley, 3 years, done.
He won a ring.
No, he didn't.
Gurley?
The Rams didn't. He
Rams?
wasn't on that Rams team.
He wasn't on the team that won the Super Bowl?
No, he was on the Falcons that year.
When the Rams beat the Bengals, he wasn't on that team?
No, he wasn't on that team.
Oh, no, you're right. That's right. That's right.
And then let's get to the good stuff. Melvin Gordon, Bishop Sankey, Trent Richardson, Doug Martin, David Wilson, Mark Ingram, CJ Spiller, Ryan Matthews, Javid Best, Noshawn Moreno, Donald Brown, Beanie Wells.
How many of those guys though had the pedigree that Bijan Robinson
I was
did?
going to say.
Come on, man.
That's such a skewed stat, number one, because
Okay, Saquon Barkley has the same pedigree.
The other thing,
and Christian McCaffrey does
And the
too.
Giants did not get their 5 years worth of Saquon Barkley that they invested originally.
The Giants also were not in the pole position of the NFC when they drafted him.
Understood.
The Giants
Fair
suck
point.
and
Fair
continue
point.
to suck.
Fair point.
and he got hurt. He didn't come in the league like Trent Richardson and just couldn't play football.
And I'm not anti Bijan. I just at number 10, I want somebody who's going to last longer. And my point with these guys is they just don't last long enough for me at 10 to make it worth my while.
This is another prime example of something with sheep.
I'm not a sheep.
Before I'd say like around 2005, 2006, this whole ideology started where I think it was Bill Polian that set it in motion where running backs don't have true full value in the first round. And ever since then, oh, well, you know what? Bill Polian said it, so I'm not going to. And then the ones that did drafted them late in the first round, the Javid Bests of the world, the, who was say Bishop Sankey?
Yeah,
Richardson was number 3.
Yeah, Richardson was 3, and he stunk. He's not good.
CJ Spiller was top 10.
Any position you're going to have guys that were either worth a damn or weren't. But it's not like you're going to find. I could probably find a bunch of busts that were left tackles in the last 20 years too. But ever since that ideology started, you started to like if this guy was in like the 2000 whatever 4 or 5 NFL draft, he'd have been a top 2, top 3 pick, easy.
And over the last dozen years, the game has completely changed. We moved away from the 3-down back. We moved away from running the ball 25 times with one guy.
And this guy can do what McCaffrey does, which is he can give you 6, 7, 8 receptions in a game and 15 to 20 carries.
So Bijan Robinson, he averaged.
I'm not arguing the talent. I'm arguing the longevity of the pick.
But it's not the same. It's not the. Go ahead, Al.
You don't need him to last 10 years. You need him to last 5 great years because within that 5 great year window, if we're making Super Bowls and winning Super Bowls, we now have guys that are going to want to come play for us. Like it changes the whole shape of the franchise if you have a guy that's potentially that missing piece to get us over the hump to win another Vince Lombardi trophy. You don't need him to play 10 years at a great level. You need him to play 5.
And if we were 3-14 instead of 14-3, picking a running back first pick, absolutely. I don't really think that's the best use of resources.
Totally.
We won 14 games and won the conference. We have a team still that doesn't have many holes. This is a luxury pick. This is a pick that fell in our lap based on Howie's draft. I can't believe I'm saying it, but like amazing draft that he had with his looking ahead, looking forward into the future at what's going to happen with the Saints and getting their pick. So guess what? Now is the time to use that luxury pick on a luxury player. We got cash in the bank. We want to get a Mercedes. I'm tired of driving a Toyota.
Listen, for me, I'm not taking the running back there. I'm taking the offensive tackle. And I'm going later on. I'm looking for a running back. Perhaps Jahmyr Gibbs or perhaps Al's boy, maybe a Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, you know what you just named? You just named Javid Best. And
I like Gibbs. I just wanted to say Tank Bigsby because I knew you were going to say it later on.
Little Tank.
No, listen, though, Celtics. Here's my other issue, though, with that strategy is who's the offensive tackle that you're targeting that high?
I like Paris Johnson.
No, of course you do. He's Ohio State. What would you think?
Well, listen, you're a Big Ten SEC guy. You shouldn't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with him as a player. I'm just saying there's no way. First of all, the whole thing with the offensive line, again, if we had a situation where Mailata or Johnson was literally on his last leg, I could understand that. Johnson's already said in February he plans to play 2 to 3 more years. Yeah, they restructured his deal already to be able to accommodate that. He's not going anywhere.
You're going to have a spot on that offensive line that opens up when Jason Kelce hangs it up next year.
Listen, I know these guys can play both sides of the ball. Paris Johnson's the left tackle. We don't need a left tackle.
No,
you can get his teammate DeJuan Jones with that pick at 30.
Exactly, what's least value than a quote unquote stereotypical running back in the first round than a guard? I'm saying though that's going to be. I'm not going
to sit here and pretend that I know whether Paris Johnson can swing to right tackle because I don't follow it that much. But I'm sure he has the flexibility to probably do that.
The highest level guy that can play multiple positions on the line is Skoronski. Skoronski can play guard and tackle. But my point is let's say Cam Jurgens goes to right guard this year and plays well. You have Kelce in the middle. When he leaves, you're going to have Cam move over to the center spot. You're going to still have Landon Dickerson is the left guard. So you're still going to need a right guard at that point in time. To me, that's when you draft a guard. You don't need
So-
to draft a guard
Can
for
we
next
all
year
also
at 10
can
this
we all
year.
also agree that Lane Johnson has not been the beacon of health?
It doesn't matter. He ended up a sack in 4 years.
No, I'm not arguing the player. Can I interrupt this with some Sixers news really quick? Or some heartbreaking Sixers news.
Better be good because I'm hot on this draft right now.
Jimmy Butler went off for 53 points and the Miami Heat beat the Milwaukee Bucks again.
Gee, dude, come on, man. This guy. Friggin' Ben Simmons.
He had 22 of their first 28 points in the first quarter before I came down here.
He went crazy in the fourth quarter because they were down like double. They were down 12 in the fourth quarter, and they're up 7 with 20 seconds left.
A franchise-altering decision that was. Franchise-altering. Unbelievable. Just like it would be if you drafted an offensive tackle over Bijan Robinson. So let's listen. Yes, Chris, you and I have Bijan. Adam, who do you have at 10?
I have Paris Johnson. I'm not backing down. I'm not backing down from Chris hates bullies. That's what you friggers are doing right now.
Watch it. Listen,
Yeah.
we're sponsored. Listen, Adam, at 30, I have them taking in an offensive tackle. I have 3 guys on my list. Chris, maybe you can give me a little intel. I have Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. I have DeJuan Jones, as I mentioned earlier, out of Ohio State. And I have Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, where Lane went. So maybe a little bit of a connection there where those two combined and Lane can teach him a thing or two. So I think any one of those 3 guys, they all seem like they have the tools, they have the size. I like that Wright blocked for a Hendon Hooker who, he's a guy that doesn't run all over the field, but he has legs. So very similar to Jalen Hurts. So I think at 30, we shore up that offensive line, not at 10. Because at 10, you want the game breaker. At 30, you get the guy that potentially is going to spot start, be your guy for the future.
I'll be honest, guys. I'm not big on the O-line this year to draft an O-line player. I'm just not. Next year is the year for the O-line for me.
I just worry that you're an injury away, though. And you could say that with a lot of teams. But when you just signed Jalen Hurts to this contract, I agree with Adam in the sense that you want to protect him.
And you did lose, again, not that he's a huge loss, but you did lose Dillard, which was depth on that offensive line.
Well, you lost Siamalu, too, who was your
right,
starter.
and Siamalu as well, correct.
Have you guys looked at the Rich Hill trade value model by any chance?
No.
So that's like the model a lot of teams use in terms of draft picks, trades. So, like, for instance, like the first pick is worth 3,000 points, and then
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. So I was looking at it a lot this week, and here's what I want to do. If Chris Guest was a GM of the Eagles, I would say 2 options, because the players that I think fit what Howie wants and what he said are not going to be at 10. They're either going to be picked earlier than that, or they're going to be picked after that. So if you want to trade up, Jalen Carter is my number 1 guy overall. Okay. I don't care about the whole off the field stuff. I think that stuff has been handled. He's already addressed it. I'm not concerned with it. If you want to trade up, Arizona's looking to trade the 3rd pick. That 3rd pick is worth 2,200 points. I'm not looking to make this a math lesson, but I'm just trying to hear me out. That pick is 2,200 points. The Eagles pick at 10 is 1,300, which means you need that pick plus 900 more points. The 30th pick is 620, so that still doesn't get you there. So now you're looking at trading 10, 30, and a third round pick. That's a lot of draft capital. I'm out on that. Indy's probably going to look to move up versus down. And Seattle, I don't know if you're going to be able to make them move from that 5 spot. So what I would do is trade up with Detroit for 6. Okay. Detroit has recently said that they had an interview with Jalen Carter, and they like him a lot more now than they did prior to the interview. To me, that's all smoke and mirrors, because why would you show your hand already to teams? To me, that's asking a team to come up and take this pick. So I'm trading 10 and 62, which is the second round pick, to Detroit for 6, and I'm drafting Jalen Carter. That's the trade up philosophy. If you want to trade down, the Steelers are looking allegedly to move up. They pick 17. All right. Without going into the whole numbers with the method, I'll save time on that. If you trade the Steelers the 10th pick and get from them 17 and their 2nd round pick, which they have 2, so you get their second round pick, You're then picking at 17, and you still have your 30th pick. You draft Bijan Robinson at 17.
You think he'll be there at 17?
I think he'll be there at 17, but when you talk about 18, 19, Tampa Bay, again, he visited the Eagles, he visited the Bucks. Those two are, from what it sounds like, are the two most intrigued by him. I know New England has allegedly had some interest, but I don't buy that from them. I don't think that's Belichick's methodology to do that. So I think he'll be there at 17. But Tampa at 19, Chargers around at 20, I don't think you're going to get him. So that way, you get an extra pick, you get the guy you want still, and then at 30, you take Maisie Smith from Michigan, D tackle. And I might be picking a little early for him for 30, but he's a beast, man. And Pro Football Focus actually had him as like their number 1 rated beast in college football this year based on statistics of all their metrics they've had. He did 22 reps at the combine, but not of 225, which is standard, but of 325. This guy is a hawk. He's a man mover, and that's kind of what we need alongside Jordan Davis, or subbing in and out with Jordan Davis on that O-line, or that D-line, depending on what kind of scheme they want to run. So
either way, it should be a very interesting Thursday night, correct?
Yeah, Thursday night.
First round?
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting. I think he's going to make a couple moves.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
bet against it.
For the record, also, my 3, 4, and 5 overall, the draft Will Anderson, Devin Witherspoon, and Nolan Smith are my 3, 4, and 5.
I have Nolan Smith on my list, too. I saw some mocks today that had him dropping all the way down towards 30, which I would be shocked.
I'd be shocked by that, too. There's a lot of guys that, I won't say a lot, but there's some GMs that comp him to Hassan Reddick, and also there's been a couple that comp him to Micah Parsons.
I saw the Reddick comparison as well.
Yeah.
I do want to touch. We do have our other guy on the hold for the third segment. Do you want to touch just quickly on the quarterback rankings you're going to see in the first round?
For me, I have Bryce Young as the top quarterback. I've been a big Bryce Young fan all year. He's small, but he can sling it. He's mobile. That's what the NFL looks for right now. I have Anthony Richardson at 2. Big body guy, big arm. I think he's going to be a kind of guy that it actually equates better to an NFL quarterback than he did it as a collegiate quarterback, especially the older he gets when he gets real NFL coaching. And then I have Hendon Hooker 3. I'm not big on your boy Stroud.
Yes.
I'm just not.
Well, I like Stroud, and I'm not Ohio State quarterback homer. I've been down on a couple of the quarterbacks that have come out recently, especially Fields. I didn't like Fields.
Yeah.
I was never a Terrell Pryor, although he wasn't drafted as high. But I do like Stroud. I don't love any of the quarterbacks in this draft per se.
No, I think that it's top heavy with the first couple that are available, I think, but Hooker's already like 25. He's already a man coming into the league. I don't think you're going to rattle him a lot with a lot of different situations. He's played in the SEC. He's been productive, especially before the injury, obviously. And then Stroud, I'm not big on Will Levis either. Will Levis, to me, screams turnover machine in the NFL.
Will Levis screams Jay Cutler 2.0.
He's got a big arm like how Kyle Bowler had. Remember when Kyle Bowler in the combine, throwing off his knee 70 yards?
Yeah.
All that stuff. Like, to me, that he reminds me of that kind of player. Like, he's got a big arm, but I don't know how good he's going to be as a leader of men and a true gunslinger in the NFL. And he might be too much of a gunslinger where he's just turning the ball over left and right.
I think with quarterbacks, it always is mostly dependent on situation. If you put a guy in a situation where the team is horrible, the line stinks, there's no players around him, you're just setting him up for failure. I don't think it matters who it is. There's very few guys that are going to be able to withstand that. Yeah. The rankings that I have, I think Richardson is the number 1 quarterback because I think he's going to be able to do so much with his legs as an athlete. I read this on the internet today. There's a guy named Kent Lee Platt. He's the creator of the relative athletic score metric, and it measured Richardson at a score of a perfect 10, which would make him the most athletic quarterback to enter the league since 1987 and the most athletic to ever play the game of football.
Who was that? Who was that? Bernie Kosar? Is that Bernie?
That's the Bernie.
So not because of that, but I have Richardson as number 1 because I think his ceiling is probably a Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and I like Richardson.
Yeah, and then I have Young and Levis, I guess 2A and 2. I just Young's height worries me, being 5'10". I mean, you know what, quarterbacks under 6 feet, the only one that's ever run one is Russ. Levis just seems like the typical gunslinger, and Stroud's an Ohio State guy, so he's not going to make any noise.
One thing about Levis, real quick too, I still don't like. Like some people will just die on the hill over it, but I don't like how he left his team out to dry in that bowl game just to preserve for the draft as a quarterback.
No, dude, we talked about this before.
As a quarterback, though,
Kenny Pickett did it.
I don't like that, man. You're supposed to be a leader. You gotta that comes with the territory, man.
He owes them nothing.
Yeah,
he nothing. He goes in that game and he blows an ACL. That's it.
Done. I don't know if he owes them nothing. He's gonna. I mean, he's the reason they're gonna make money. I mean, they're the reason he's gonna make money.
The bowl games are so dumb.
So dumb.
Well, that's a whole different point. That's like, a whole different conversation.
Chris, what bowl game was it? Can you even name it?
No.
Exactly.
But they got shut out. I remember they got shut out by Iowa.
Probably the Meineke Car Care Bowl or the Belk Bowl.
The 3 in the Keystone Bowl.
Hey, that's an idea. I have Richardson number 1 as well. I have Richardson, Stroud, Young, Levis as my top 4 quarterbacks.
Before we wrap it up, Chris, what do you think about with that 62nd pick if we keep it? Taking I got them taking a tight end, Sam Laporta out of Iowa.
I actually like. Apparently, this year is like the best tight end year in a long time.
A lot of pass catchers, a lot of athletes, because this is the crew that was born and then grew up with watching the Antonio Gateses,
this is a really big tight end year.
Yeah.
Michael Mayer is number 1 on my board for tight ends. Obviously, Notre Dame guy, but they're tight end you. I mean, his ceiling is probably Gronk, and his floor is probably Kyle Rudolph. I mean, and both those guys were productive in their careers for the most part. So you can't go wrong with that. But even Henderson from Georgia, like he's one of the best blocking tight ends, and he can catch the ball. The kid Kincaid from Utah, I think it is. Who's really, he actually, some teams like him more than Mayer. So it's a really good tight end year. I wouldn't be opposed to that, I should say.
Fair enough. So we'll get the answers to some of our questions on Thursday night. Hopefully the Eagles make some solid selections in their future, and there'll be players that we'll see shooting up for them over the next handful of years, and they turn into impact players. But we're not done with the draft talk, as we have a trivia competition coming up, hosted by Al, as myself will battle Chris and Tuna, the big Tuna. We're not talking about. It's not Bill Parcells. Was Bill Parcells Tuna?
Yeah.
We're not talking about Bill Parcells. We're talking about, well, what's his real name?
Dan Claycomb.
Wow, Danny C. We'll see him soon. We'll be right back for segment 3. Welcome back to segment 3, as we are going to get into some draft trivia. We love to compete amongst the group. My undefeated record is on the line tonight, and it's a fact. I've been undefeated in all the competitions. Don't you rolling your eyes there, Al?
You're the intro, bro. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm a heavy dog tonight. And I'm willing to put that out there. But I'm going to pass it over to the MC, Al Ryan, who's going to take the throne from here and ask the questions.
All right. So we have NFL draft trivia here, and we decided we wanted a third participant in this, so it wasn't just Adam and Chris. So we invited a good friend of mine, former college roommate from Penn State University, Dan Tuna Claycomb. Dan, you are, in my opinion, probably the biggest sicko when it comes to the NFL draft. Just a couple of notes I had on you. You are the only person that I know that actually bought and played that NFL head coach game with Bill Cowher on the cover. Is that true?
I did. It ended up being a disappointment, which I didn't see coming at all. Everyone else did.
Dude, I actually played that too, Dan, and I remember like an hour into it, I was like, "Where are the players? What is this?"
Yeah, for you had to call each play in practice, and nothing was happening.
No, you didn't see anything.
No, it was a disappointment. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, it's really
And
really
and then most people, even probably our listeners, are used to taking off one of those first 2 days of March Madness to watch the tournament games. Dan is the only person I know that would take off the first day of the NFL Combine, not the draft, the Combine, to watch the big burly meats and the big burly beefs running 40s and putting up reps. So, Dan, when did that start? Like, why did you decide to do that?
I had just such interest in it, and once I got a job and it was scheduled while I was at work, I was like, well, work can't happen then. So we got to we got to change something here. I'll be leaving at noon to go catch the combine and go from there. I don't know. I haven't done that in a little while, but yeah, I definitely used to use PTO on combine days.
that guy.
I'm feeling a little more confident now. I think Dan's got too much on the line. There's a lot of pressure.
Well, pressure, yeah, pressure.
No, yeah. If I lose, it's devastating.
I'll tell you what. Vegas has Dan at a robust favorite. I mean, he's like minus 800 tonight.
About
I
right.
got Chris at plus 540 and Adam at plus 750.
Oh man, I got some value there.
I would be.
Is it Al? Are you doing like a point system? Is it per
Yep.
question? Like everything's different value.
So I got a point system. I'll explain it. There's different categories. So we'll just start with the first category. So the first category is the busts category. Okay. So my first question in this category is, in 2003, this wide receiver was drafted second overall, just ahead of non-bust Andre Johnson. He was famously featured in the NFL Madden commercials that year as well, with a number of other rookies.
How many questions total we going?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll just
Now,
go into the sun.
How many you have prepared?
Now, here's the deal. If you guys are struggling with this, I can give you the school. I did, like I said, I talked about this off the air. I didn't know how many hints to give you.
If you guys are struggling with this, I can give you the school too. If you guys want to do that,
I think I'm all right. I feel confident. There's a chance I'm not 100%. Who's going first, Al?
Are we all good? We all have our answers?
Yeah.
Then listen, I think we might be 4 for 4 here then. Well, let's start off with the favorite. Dan,
Charles Rogers, wide receiver, Michigan State.
Charles Rogers is correct.
We got to show the Jones.
Oh.
Yeah, only because he said it already. All right, Chris, all three. All right, so look, we're off to a great start here, guys. Do you remember the Madden commercial?
I don't.
I don't know.
He was singing a song. It was like, I'm Charles Rogers. I had 15 touchdowns and 85 receptions.
No, I don't remember that.
Sing that
Okay.
over and over again. That was the commercial. All right. Let's go to 2008. In 2008, this defensive end was drafted 6th overall and played 3 seasons in the NFL without ever recording a single sack. Name that defensive end.
2008.
2008, drafted 6th overall, played 3 seasons in the NFL without recording a single sack. He was very highly touted. He was drafted by a franchise with a bit of a, I would say, reputation. Reputation for what? You.
Yeah, I was gonna say, winning, losing, like drugs. What?
A bit of a reputation for drafting busts, if that helps.
Ooh.
So 6th overall, 2008. And I will also say this while you guys are thinking here. The number of players that are no longer in the league is jarring. Like, I was looking at
turnovers high as
dude, I was looking at like the 2015 draft, and the number of players that are not in the league anymore is it's incredible.
Well, you think about how many get drafted. You got
Right.
210 and
No, but even like when you go and look at this on NFL or whatever Pro Football Reference, and you look at like the first round, like there's only like 2 or 3 guys that are still in the league. It's wild.
Yeah, NFL Live, the shelf life is short.
Now?
He only played 3 years, all for the same team.
Okay.
Defensive end.
Come on.
2008, 6th overall. I'm going to give you guys maybe 5 more seconds. Do you guys, Adam, do you have an answer?
I have something written down. I don't think it's. I got a 30%
no idea.
shot.
All right. All right. Well, let's throw them up there. Where do you guys have Adam? Let's start with you.
I don't remember his exact first name, but I'm going with Bartavius Mingo, something like that.
That
That's
was after
incorrect. That's incorrect.
That was a great guess, though.
Chris, you
Mingo
don't have
played
anything?
he played more than 3 years.
I know. I couldn't think of anything else.
Chris, nothing.
I don't have anything.
All right. What do we got, Dan?
Vernon Golston,
Vernon
Ohio State.
Golston is correct.
First
Oh,
of all,
man.
Chris, don't laugh at my guess if you don't have shit written down on your paper.
I didn't know. I'm laughing at Vernon Golston because
Oh,
I
you were
forgot all
laughing at
about it.
Bartavius Mingo.
No. I'm laughing at the correct answer because I forgot all about that dude.
This was not intentional, but 2 Big Ten guys to start off probably was a little bit in favor of my Penn State
Was it Tampa who drafted him?
The Jets.
Jets.
Oh, the Jet. Oh.
Jets. Okay, 2 more questions in the bust category. The next question, in 2011, Cam Newton was drafted first overall and went on to have a very successful NFL career. The second quarterback, taken just 7 spots later at number 8, did not have a very successful career, lasting just 4 seasons. He was drafted by a team from the AFC South. Can you name that quarterback? So this was a guy who, again, only 4 seasons. He had flashes. Let me just look up his stats here while you guys are thinking. He had a excuse me?
What year?
This was 2011. He was drafted 8th overall by a team from the AFC South. And he played 4 seasons in the NFL. He started 23 games over those 4 seasons. He was this team's full-time starter in the second year. However, he did not play the whole season. I can't remember if that's because of injury. I think it was because of an injury. And I mentioned that he had flashes. I take that back. This dude sucked. 4 years.
On draft night, John Gruden was a huge fan of his. John Gruden kept hyping him up, said he should have been a higher pick.
You know it's not good when the contestant's giving you the hint.
I got a name written down that I like, but I feel like he played more than 4 years in the NFL, which is screwing me up.
I'll tell you what, I'll ramp up the hints a little bit. Like I had
No.
The guy I was gonna say is not. It can't be right because he's still in the league.
Yeah, no, then that's definitely not correct. He was an old rookie too, this guy. This dude was 23 as a rookie.
Oh,
It's not Wenke. Wenke was old before that guest.
Oh, Chris Wenke, how was he, like 26?
No. I wasn't thinking about him. Wenke was like, we were like high school. Wenke was.
Yeah, I was kidding.
No, the guy I was about to get drafted in the AFC South though. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't know.
All right. Well, Adam, do you have an answer here?
I got Blaine Gabbert, but I don't think that's right.
No, that's what I was thinking about, but he's still in the league.
Solid guess. Dan, put them out of their misery.
Jake Locker.
Oh,
Jake Locker.
I was going to say him.
Jake
Locker. Titans.
Now
That
let
was
me
the
ask
Christian
you this.
Ponder draft too. Wasn't Ponder in that draft or no?
Ponder was in the 20s, I think, or
Yeah,
maybe
but
11. Was he 11 or 20?
there was a lot of bust quarterbacks in that
I
draft.
thought Ponder was 12, but I could be mistaken.
he might
I
know.
think
You might
Ponder
know
was
right now.
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. If I would have given you, I guess if I would have given you guys Titans, you wouldn't have gotten it still. If I would have given you Washington, do you think, I know it's hindsight, but
I would have got. Listen,
No, if
the
you said
question,
Titans,
question
I
was
might have
fair. Don't second guess your,
All right.
your skills as a host.
all right. So
Question
then
was fair.
the last question for Bust, and I think this is the hardest one.
Oh, great.
Ryan Leaf is perhaps the most well-known NFL draft bust of all time. He was a Greg Diversa favorite, and it's hard to believe that at one time there was actually a debate over whether him or Peyton Manning should be the number 1 overall pick in 1998. However, another bust was taken right after Leaf at number 3. Can you name this defensive end out of Florida State?
I'll tell you, I can't. So
We have a look of confusion from.
I like the questions. I'm like, it's just.
This was the only one where I was like, all right, this is a hard one. Like I don't think they're gonna know it, but
Defensive end, you said?
defensive end out of Florida State.
I'm going to know when I hear it, obviously. But
Oh, you're definitely gonna know it once you hear it.
You
Hold on.
think?
Yeah, this is a name because
Is
this
it?
guy,
Okay.
this guy was highly touted. If I remember correctly.
He was. He had huge hype coming out, but I don't remember anything on his pro career.
I just remember his name. That's it. Let's while we're thinking here, let's look up this. Oh man, I mean this guy only spent 3 years in the league. 8 sacks
Wow.
for his career. He
And
actually was third in defensive rookie of the year voting his rookie year.
He had injury issues, is why he was out. He had
Yeah.
something rough happen.
He had to have been a juice guy, right?
Yeah, probably Florida State, mid-90s.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, who was the team that picked him?
Arizona, the Cardinals.
I'm tapping out on this one, so we're waiting on Chris.
Oh my gosh.
Chris, I'm going to say I don't think you're going to get it.
Nah, I'll know when I hear it.
All right, Dan, what do we got?
Andre Wadsworth.
Andre the Giant Wadsworth is correct.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know
wouldn't-
the Hall of Famer that went the pick after him?
What position did he play?
Corner.
in you said
Champ?
No.
99? Was it
98.
or 98? Woodson?
Woodson.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Let me get that point for that.
Nah.
So after the first round here, we have Dan with going 4 for 4, and Chris
As advertised, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Chris and Adam tied
Not
at 1.
disappointed.
So the next category here is steals. So these are players who are considered steals based on where they were drafted. So I'm going to start here with what I believe is the easiest of the questions. Still playing today, this receiver out of Maryland was taken in the 5th round in 2015 and has over 8,800 receiving yards and 59 touchdowns so far in his career, which is a career where he has played for 2 teams. Name that wide receiver. So I'll say that again. I see Adam is thinking. It looks like Chris and Dan have answers. He's a receiver out of Maryland, was taken in the 5th round in 2015, has over 8,800 receiving yards and 59 touchdowns so far in his career, and has played for 2 teams in his career.
I got this one.
He's still active.
He is active. He is extremely active.
I just keep seeing Torrey Smith in my head. I know that's not right.
Torrey Smith had to be drafted way before that, right?
He was Maryland though, I think, right?
Yeah, he was Maryland. I think, yeah, he's much older, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Not Darius Hayward Bay.
Man. Mr. Slant Route.
I should know this. If those guys know it, we could tap me out.
All right.
Yeah, I got
Well, Chris, what do you got?
Is it that Stephon Diggs?
Is that Stephon Diggs? Dan, you can show it. I know that you probably had it. Stephon Diggs is
Yeah, I
correct.
wasn't coming up with that.
So
I didn't realize he was a Maryland guy.
Yeah.
5, 2, and 1 is our score. Our next question in the steals category is one of the reasons, and we spoke about this in the last segment, that teams are so weary of taking running backs early is because of this former 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee in 2017, still active in the NFC South today. Name that running back.
Round out of Tennessee.
Running back, 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee, 2017, and he is playing in the NFC South.
Oh.
Name that running back. I would
I think I got it. I don't know 100% though.
yeah, so he's
Oh, I'm right there.
6-year career. I mean, has really put up numbers every year with the exception of this past.
Oh fuck, we're doing steals, right?
Steals.
What was the year?
2017,
Okay.
3rd round out of Tennessee.
Okay. I was still on the bus train for a second there.
Oh, that's not good. All right. Well, are we good here? Do we have
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
Well,
Dan looks like
I'm blanking on this one.
Yeah, Dan doesn't look like he has it. So
I'm blanking.
So we're gonna start with Mr. Foulmouth, Mr. Potty Mouth himself, Adam.
I got that Alvin Kamara.
That is correct. Alvin Kamara,
Uh,
rookie of the year that year. Chris?
I said Cordell Patterson.
That's incorrect. And Dan?
I had nothing. You know what? You said NFC South. I heard AFC South. I was going through all the wrong.
Oh, here we go. The excuses.
I should have had it anyway. No, that's
Wait,
I got
Dan,
nothing.
where did Patterson go?
I think he was a first round pick, I thought.
Was he a first
Yeah, he
round
was
pick?
late first round. He was
I
at
think he
where?
was- Oh.
No, I couldn't
Tennessee.
remember.
He was Tennessee. Yeah, you had
I
that
thought,
right.
yeah, I thought he was Tennessee. So
Yeah.
he wasn't the right guy though. All right.
There you go. Right. Church, wrong pew. Right, Chris? That's what we say here.
Good thing you said stats in that question. Otherwise, I would have contested it.
All right. So then the next, we have two more questions in the steals category. This next one is this linebacker taken in the third round in 2018 has already been to 2 conference title games and a Super Bowl. This linebacker taken in the third round in 2018 has already been to 2 conference title games and a Super Bowl. I don't really want to give you guys any more because I think if
No, that's fine.
you got it, if you get the team. I don't personally remember hearing much about this gentleman coming out of college. But has definitely made an impact in his 5-year career now in the NFL. One of the premier players at his position, one of the stalwarts for the team he is on.
No more hints.
What was it?
These guys.
Did you already say his college?
No, I didn't say his college. I just said that he went to 2 conference title games and a Super Bowl.
This is the comeback story starting now. Starting with
We're
Alvin Kamara.
gonna have a draft trivia and not name colleges.
You gotta know.
We will going forward. That's one of the meat and bones rounds is you guys are going to have to name the college.
All right, I don't know if I'm right here. Actually, I know I don't think I'm right. But...
All right, Dan, do you have an answer? You look stymied once again.
Blanking again.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
I said Devin White.
Devin White's incorrect. Adam,
Is that right church, wrong pew again? Is it Levante David?
that's incorrect.
Ooh.
So out of BYU, Fred Warner. Fred Warner is the correct answer.
You should have known Al was going with his Niners.
I'd take one.
Rats.
I'd take one. The last question, and again, what I believe to be the hardest, but I do think it's gettable. We'll see. Green Bay drafted this receiver all the way in the 7th round in 1999 out of Alcorn State. Green Bay drafted this receiver in the 7th round in 1999 out of Alcorn State.
I know what
Can you name that receiver? Alcorn State, famously the school where one Steve Air McNair attended.
In 99, you said?
1999, Green Bay, 7th round, wide receiver, Alcorn State.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Well, it better be on the tip of that pen in the next 5 seconds, guys, so you're not going to get any points. And I can see you going through the Rolodex of receivers.
The guy I was thinking of at first is too old. It ain't gonna be him.
Are you thinking of Sterling?
No.
Let me ask, does anybody have an answer? Because I don't want to talk if
I have one.
Okay.
I don't know if I feel like it might be a touch too early for him, but
We'll see. This is a
I do
this
not
is a-
test
this
well
is-
in these games, folks.
Listen, we all know we all know this guy. I would say he was a household name for many years.
Yeah, I know who it like.
I mean, this is you got to
I'm feeling
access
good. I'm feeling good.
the recesses of the Superior. No, that's the heart. Superior vena cava. You got of the hippocampus here, guest.
You said a Vena Cava? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
No,
All right. Listen,
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna have to call time here. I'm gonna have to ask
Yeah.
for a response. I think Adam was the only one with a response. Am I correct?
I wrote down a wrong one.
What's
What do
the
you
wrong
have,
one?
Dan?
I wrote Donald Driver, but I think he's too young.
Donald Driver's
I-
correct.
I have Donnie D as well.
Oh,
That's a great. That's a
Good
great
pull
plus
at the
down.
end.
Donald Driver is correct. I was going to say that he played 12 seasons for the Packers. I thought that might have been a little bit too much info.
Nah, because I
But,
figured if he was a sleeper, I mean a steal, he probably played a while.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us after 2 rounds. Dan has 6. Adam with a healthy comeback here, 3, and Chris is stuck at 2.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move into a round here where I'm calling this the lightning round. So what you're going to do is we'll start with Dan since he's our guest. We're going to name guys that fit the question because there's multiple answers until there's no one left. So you can accumulate multiple points in this round. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are you eliminated if you get it wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's only 2 questions here. We're going to start with the first one, and this is our oldest draft here. Going all the way back to 1996, there were 6 players drafted that year who are currently in the NFL Hall of Fame. Okay? There's 2 linebackers. There's 2 receivers. There's a safety, and there's an offensive lineman, a tackle. If you want to write that down, you can. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think here to write these answers down.
The offensive tackle?
Offensive tackle. So I'm going to say that again. 1996 draft. There are 6 players currently in the NFL Hall of Fame. There's 2 linebackers, 2 receivers, a safety, and an offensive tackle. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to kind of write down who you think might be in that list. We'll start with Dan. We'll go to Adam next, and then we'll go to Chris.
Why does the favorite get to go?
Or no,
first?
actually, you know what? No. Yeah, you're right. Let's start with Chris.
Chris, yeah.
Go to Adam, and then go to Dan with Chris having the least amount of points. So I'll give you guys another maybe 30 seconds here. And I will say this. I will not be surprised if you get 4 of them. 5 of them is definitely within the realm, and I think 6 would be a good pull. Obviously,
96.
96 draft. Obviously, with these guys being Hall of Famers, you know all the names. Yeah, two linebackers, 2 receivers, a safety, and an offensive tackle. There are Super Bowl winners on this list. There are. I don't know. Let me check my notes here. I don't believe any of them won the Rookie of the Year that season, but let me just double check that. So in 1996, if this helps, the 1996 Rookie of the Year was Eddie George on the offensive side. He's not on this list. And on the defensive side, it was Simeon Rice.
Simeon Rice, I think, is getting in the Hall of Fame this year, I think. I might have made that up. Scratch that from the record.
So again, we have 6 Hall of Famers in that draft class. 3 drafted in the first round. A couple drafted later on, 2nd round, 3rd round, 5th round. I know that might not really help you too much, but figured I would throw it out there.
Say that last part again?
I said that there was 3 of these gentlemen were drafted in the first round, and then there was a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a 5th round pick from these guys. So for the last time, we have 2 receivers, 2 linebackers, a safety, and a tackle.
I got 5 names written down. They're probably all wrong, but
Yeah, I
feel
got
good about them in the moment.
Chris, we're gonna go with you first.
So we name one at a time.
You name one at a time here. So you're gonna name one, and then we're gonna go to Adam.
All right, I'm gonna guess Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis is correct.
Oh.
Ray Lewis was drafted 26th overall that year by the Baltimore Ravens.
I had that on my list.
So Ray Lewis is off the board. Adam, who do you got?
I'm gonna take it to the meat hogs. Was Orlando Pace the first overall pick in that draft?
First overall pick in that draft was Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, Pace was I think like 98, wasn't he?
Yeah, Orlando Pace. I think he was 97.
97.
Yeah, I think he was 97.
I'm eliminated. I shouldn't
You're
get eliminated. Keep it going.
All right, fine. You make the rules, Adam, since you want to defend your title.
Well, you're gonna have
Adam Selfish
in a second. Don't you want to see how the question goes?
Adam Selfish.
All right, Dan, give me one. Who do you got?
Number 4 overall, Jonathan Ogden.
That's the one that I wasn't sure if you would get. So Jonathan Ogden is correct. That's what I thought you were going to say there, Adam.
Yeah, I wasn't coming up with Ogden.
So just to give you guys a recap here, we have 2 receivers, a linebacker, and a safety left.
So it goes back to Chris.
I'm gonna another guess. Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison's correct.
Really?
Marvin Harrison.
I thought Harrison and McNabb played together. That's why I kind of.
They did, I think, but he was a senior. I think Harrison was. I don't think they were the same class.
Drafted 19th overall by the Colts that year.
Okay. So I'm stuck between a linebacker or a receiver. I'm going to go with a receiver that got in the Hall of Fame recently. How about that Isaac Bruce?
That is
really good guesses. What was he, 95?
I don't know.
I'll Google Isaac Bruce.
I don't know. So we still have 3 left. Dan, you're up, and then we'll go one more round and see if you guys can get the last 3 here.
All right, I got 2 iffy picks. I'm gonna go with Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens is correct.
Fuck, I had him on my list too.
Chattanooga, right?
Yeah, Tennessee, Chattanooga. I knew if I said Chattanooga, you would get it. He was the 3rd round pick that year that made it to the Hall of Fame. So we have 2 left. We have a linebacker and a safety.
Isaac Bruce was 94.
All right, Chris, you're up. Linebacker and safety.
I'll be honest. So I have a person for each, but the linebacker, I only have the first name. I can't remember his last name. I'm blanking on his last name.
I'll take it. But I don't think it's the. Go ahead. I'll take it.
So that means it's probably not right.
Well, you're just gonna say like Jones, Smith,
Jamiroquai, Watkins.
So this will be your last attempt each, just for the sake of time here.
From the Bucks, Derek.
That's why I have Derek Brooks.
Derek Brooks is incorrect. It's incorrect.
He's 95, 1 year off.
Adam, give me one more. We got a safety and a tackle. I'm sorry. A safety and a linebacker.
I'm gonna pass. I had Brooks as my last guess as well. I don't have anything else written down.
Dan, you can get one more point here.
Is it Teddy Bruschi?
Not Teddy Bruschi.
Yeah.
So the remaining Hall of Famers from that year, Zach Thomas. And guys, listen, we're 3 in the Keystone. We pride ourselves on being Philadelphia and
Dawkins.
B-Dawk.
Well, B didn't get there yet. I got eliminated.
Brian Dawkins.
I got eliminated. What do you want me to do?
Final one.
That's a rough miss for the crowd.
Yeah, not great, guys. Not a great look. So we have Dan with 8 points, Chris with 4. He's taken sole possession of second. Adam has 3. The only other question I have for this round is, and I think you're going to do better here, 5 quarterbacks were taken in the first round of the 1999 NFL draft, with 3 being taken with the first 3 selections. In order to make this an even 6, I'm also going to accept a quarterback who was drafted in the 4th round by the Packers, who ended up playing for the Saints. I'll say all that again. I know that was a mouthful. 1999 NFL draft, 5 quarterbacks in the first round. 3 of the quarterbacks were the first 3 selections in the draft. To make it an even 6 quarterbacks for the sake of the trivia game, there was a quarterback drafted in the 4th round by the Packers who had a lot of success with the Saints. So can you name these 6 quarterbacks?
I got the 5.
I got 5 as well. I'm missing a first rounder.
Oh, you got the Saints guy?
Yeah.
So
I think I don't know if this guy was first rounder or not.
We won't start yet, but when we do, we'll start with Adam and then go to Chris and then go to Dan. As that's
Are we going to do 1-1-1 or are we going to do all of them at the same time?
1-1-1. So
Okay.
Adam names one, you name. We'll do it 3 times over. So Dan, how many do you have over there?
I got 5 for sure. The Green Bay to Saints one, I'm like 50-50 on.
That's a big get.
That's an easy one.
I felt the same way, Adam. I think that's
It's-
easier than one of the first round guys.
Well, should we get started? And that way they can still think about it.
Yeah. All right, Adam, what do you give me your first one?
We gotta go. I'm not gonna let another Eagle slip through the cracks. Number 5, Donovan McNabb.
5 will always love you. Donovan is off the board. All right, Chris.
Tim Couch.
Tim Couch, first overall pick that year, is off the board. Both correct, obviously. Dan, who do you got?
Dante Culpepper.
Oh, my man, get your roll on. Dante Culpepper.
I thought he was later for some reason. I didn't have him written down.
He was first round.
All right, I'll go. How about the lefty gunslinger Cade McNown out of
Cade
UCLA?
Cade McNown to the Bears off the board. You guys are
Didn't,
gonna
didn't
this.
the Eagles end McNown's career?
Broken collarbone, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it ended his career, but it definitely was a big injury for him.
Was
How
it-
about that?
was it-
Achilles Smith.
Achilles Smith is off the board, which tells me that we're going to get all 6 of these guys. Dan, do you have the last quarterback here on this list?
Is it Aaron Brooks?
It's
right.
Aaron Brooks. It's Aaron Brooks.
Also just played shooting guard for the Houston Rockets.
A huge-
Was Sean King in that draft?
he
Yeah, I
was,
think he
and he
was.
was originally my 6th guy that I was going to have because he was in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And I had like this 2nd round quarterback, spent a lot of time in Tampa Bay, blah, blah, blah. But I thought that might have been a little too obscure. All
I
right.
would
So
have got Sean King
final-
before I got Aaron Brooks.
what's that?
I would have got King before Aaron Brooks.
Oh, wow. All right. Heading into the final round, we have Dan in the lead. He has 10. Chris, you're actually in striking distance. You have 6. And Adam, you're right behind with 5. So depending how this round goes, I think it might be anyone's ball game. Dan's really going to have to trip up on some of these. So here we go, guys. This is the one you were waiting for. This is the out of round. I'm going to give you the year, the pick, the team, and the position. You have to give me the player and the school.
Oof.
Okay? You get 1 point for player, 1 point for school. So you can still get a point if you don't get either or. All right? Let's start with 2000, 4th overall, Cincinnati wide receiver. 2000, 4th overall, Cincinnati wide receiver. Now, I remember this guy, first of all, a big favorite of mine. Loved him.
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember him being a really, really highly touted pick that year.
I appreciate the layup to start the round. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, we're all good here.
All right, good. All right. I'm happy then. Okay, so what do we got here, Adam?
I got Peter Warwick.
And wait, don't hold him up. Out of where?
Oh, Florida State. Sorry,
Okay.
my bad. Florida State.
Go ahead. Chris, you got the same thing? Yep. Dan. All right, so 2 points for everybody that round. Peter Warwick, Florida State. Next one, 2001. 31st overall, Baltimore, tight end. 2001, 31st overall, Baltimore, tight end. Excuse me?
What was that? I mean, it is 11 o'clock, so
Yeah.
things get wild at night.
Definitely a guy that had some success in the league. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with Chris.
I got Todd Heap,
Yep,
Arizona State.
that's correct. Dan,
Same.
Todd Heap, Arizona State. Adam,
I was gonna say Heap and Arizona State, but I went BYU instead. Also very believable. He could have been.
Yeah, yeah, he's very BYU.
you still got Todd Heap though.
Yeah.
So that's 1 point for Adam, 2 for Chris, 2 for Dan. A guy who had a great career, but I'll just always remember him for always calling him Trash Heap every time he had a bad game.
I was never a big Heap guy.
2002, 11th overall, Indianapolis defensive end. 2002, 11th overall, Indianapolis defensive end.
Ooh, let's go.
Here we go. He's finding his sweet spot here. We all good?
Yep.
All right, Dan, what do you got?
Dwight Freeney, Syracuse.
You got Dwight Freeney out of the Qs. Chris has the same thing. Dwight Freeney, Syracuse, and Adam also has Dwight Freeney, Syracuse. Well, listen, you guys are putting points on the board, so you're holding it down for the brand. But again, Dan is he's relentless.
What's the total count? Are you waiting until at the end or?
There's a lot of X's next to Dan's name right here. So he has he has 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 16.
Yeah, but never forget he didn't know Alvin Kamara. I'll always remember that.
Chris, you have 12. Adam,
Right,
you have
okay.
10.
All right.
Next one, 2005, 130th overall, San Diego running back. 2005, 130th overall, San Diego running back.
Mm.
Definitely a guy we know. I mean, all these are guys we know. I didn't pick any
Ooh, wait a minute.
obscure names.
Help the squad out, Al. No hints for these guys.
All right. I think I'd be helping out Chris here, if anything. To be
Yeah, that's
honest.
what I mean.
You said 05?
2005, 130th overall, San Diego Superchargers, which is probably why Adam knows it, and running back.
The college I could be 50-50 shot.
If you gave me this guy's name, I knew the college. I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have gotten it. This though.
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh,
I'm going blank.
Yeah, I'm out too.
Oh, Adam.
how about the burner Michael Turner? I have Northern Illinois, but it could be Southern Illinois.
How about incorrect?
Ah,
We got
Sproles.
Turner was the
Sproles.
Falcons, wasn't he?
Darren Sproles,
Kansas,
Kansas
State.
State.
Kansas State. Darren Sproles out of Kansas State. All right, guys. I have 5 left. Do you want all 5? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's go. Time here. All right. The next one is 2007, 3rd overall, Cleveland offensive tackle. 2007, 3rd overall, Cleveland offensive tackle.
Artavius Mingo.
Here's a little shout out to the Big Burly Beefs.
When
Looks
was
like
Michael-
everybody's writing, it looks like.
I got a guy. I don't know if it's right. The college isn't right.
Chris, who do you got?
Joe Thomas,
Joe Thomas is correct. Do you have the college?
Michigan.
You're right there. You're in the right conference. Adam,
Michael
what you
Turner,
got?
Wisconsin. Or Turner, Wisconsin.
Michael Turner. Dying for him.
Thomas.
to be
Joe Thomas.
What
Says
the hell
Joe
is going
Thomas.
on?
I'm Googling Michael Turner's name to see when he got drafted.
Joe Thomas and
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is correct. Dan, you had it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
So I
Joe
get a point
Thomas.
still, though, right?
And listen, we're just taking Dan's word for it. I didn't even ask him to hold his thing up. All right. So we have Dan with 18, Chris with 13, Adam with 12. 4 to go. 2013, 69th overall.
Can I interrupt you for a second? When did you say when was Sproles? 05 5th round?
Yeah.
Turner was 04 5th round. That's a tough beat.
That is a tough beat.
That's a tough beat. All right, go ahead.
So 2013, 69th overall, Arizona defensive back.
One more time, I'm sorry.
Yep. 2013, 69th overall, Arizona defensive back. Arizona Cardinals defensive back, 3rd round, 2013. I was a big fan of this guy. Still am. You guys have one? Everybody have one? Chris?
Yeah.
You got one? Dan?
I got nothing.
Oh, here we go, boys.
Opportunity.
Got
Hold it down
nothing.
for Brand. Chris, what do you got?
Is it Patrick Peterson?
No, he was
not.
first round.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a
How
high
about-
pick.
How about the Honey Badger?
The Honey
LSU.
Badger. Tyrann Mathieu.
wait,
out
you
of
said
LSU.
2013?
Yeah. So right 10 years flew.
No way he was 10 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
It was right after they won that title. LSU.
Chris would get the point for LSU.
Yeah, we should. Yeah,
Oh, did you put LSU?
I have LSU.
You
Yeah.
do get that point. Look at
Wait, did Dan have LSU? Did you put LSU?
I had nothing.
Oh, okay,
I had a total blank.
Okay.
listen, you guys are in striking distance here, only 4 back. What's that say?
You see it? LSU.
Yeah, I see it. All right.
Chicken scratch I got.
3 left, guys. 3 left. 2014, 32nd overall, Minnesota quarterback. Couple guys are writing pretty fast here.
What year? 14?
2014, 32nd overall, last pick of the first round, Minnesota
Oh.
quarterback. Looks like everybody looks pretty confident with this one. I give Chris, looks like he's still writing, give him a chance to finish up here. This is something you got to get used to as a teacher is when you look around the room and there's like a couple of kids that are still writing and you're just waiting for them. Throw a little banter out there. All right, Dan, why don't you start us off?
Teddy Bridgewater, Louisville.
Teddy Two Gloves, Louisville is correct. Chris and Adam, everybody has it. Everybody gets the points. All right. So heading into the last 2 here, you guys are going to need to get both, and Dan's going to have to not get either. See how it goes.
What's me and Chris? It's me and Chris at.
You're both at 16.
Hey, good match, Chris.
2015, 10th overall, St. Louis running back. 2015, 10th overall, St. Louis running back.
10th overall.
If you were paying attention to our second segment tonight, the listeners at home, where we talked about running backs potentially being taken too soon. While we wait, Dan, where do you stand on Bijan?
I think he's going to be a really good back in the NFL, but I think for the Eagles, it's probably not the right pick, which I heard your segment last week. I know the field disagrees with me here.
Not me. I'm with you.
You're with me? Yeah.
Not at 10.
I feel
Not
like
at 10.
trade down or one of the corners is going to be the way to go.
So St. Louis Rams, 10th overall.
10th overall, St. Louis Rams running back.
What year?
You just don't, do you not like the fit, the style, or just not the right pick for 10?
I think you could get more value. I'd rather get one of the premier positions. The corners are old on Philly. Like the defense has lost some depth. The offensive line has lost some depth. I'd rather see them grab one of the premier positions and then maybe grab Gibbs at the 30th pick or something like that.
I just don't. All right, well, we can talk about this when we go off, but I just don't think you get a guy that is a game changer at the cornerback position And I love me some Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, I think their spot's interesting though. Being one spot ahead at Tennessee, who might take a quarterback that trade down is going to be there for them. So it'll be interesting. They have a really unique pick this year.
All right, guys. It looks like everybody's done. So
what year is it? 15, you said?
2015.
All right.
All right, Adam, what do you got?
I have Todd Gurley, Georgia. But it feels
Todd
too
Gurley,
early.
Georgia, correct. That's correct. Chris, Dan, same thing. Yep.
I felt like that for like Chris did for Honey Badger. Like it seemed like he was more like a 17.
I forgot that because he was with St. Louis before he went to LA. I forgot that he was that old, I guess.
So I was gonna make the last question here, the last person. I was gonna drop hints the whole segment of it being Bill Goldberg, but I decided not to do that. Like I'm gonna keep saying like who's next, and like this guy's a jackhammer of a defender, but I decided not to do that. So this last person, 2018, so recent, 5 years ago, 12th overall, Tampa Bay defensive tackle. And I can say my favorite defensive player in the league.
Yeah, you love this.
Yeah. That's the only reason I knew who this was. I have no idea where he went to school, though.
You want to talk about bringing the beef? Dog.
He brings the meat and the potatoes.
So one more time for Dan. It's 2018, 12th overall, Tampa Bay D tackle. Dan, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I think I'm wrong though. Vita Vea?
Vita V is correct. You have the school.
Was he Washington?
He was Washington.
Oh,
Good call. I
Chris,
had Notre Dame.
I put Oregon.
I had Vita Vea.
Oh, so Dan showing out here at the end, nailing Vita V and nailing the school. I would have thought it was the School of the Culinary Arts, but it was the Washington Huskies. Dan, listen, we brought you on here. I brought you on here especially to kind of be a ringer to whip my my friends here into shape and kind of humble them a little bit, and that's exactly what you did. So I appreciate you coming on, Dan. You ended the night with 24 points. Chris and Adam, listen, valiant effort. Tied
We
for
hung.
second at 18. And
Yeah.
a closer match than I think maybe we didn't give a spread on this, but I think you guys covered the spread tonight.
Yeah, I got hurt in the Hall of Famers section. That's where I lost pace.
Chris, any thoughts, any reactions?
Nah, I'm just happy that I wasn't in the cellar by myself. I'll take a tie for second.
On the way up.
So Dan, will you be back then for the NBA draft trivia contest?
I'll give it a shot. I'll be happy to finish third for that one though.
They have combines for that too.
They do. I don't take off work for that, so I don't know if it would as well.
Only got so much PTO, I guess, huh?
Although it's in Chicago, right? I could just hop right on over to it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Are you a Chicago guy?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How long have you been out there?
5 years, 6 years.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It flies by.
I like Chicago. Good city.
Got the magic bean.
Yep. Well,
I'll
listen,
I'll study up on my NBA draft knowledge.
It was good having you. You lived
man.
up to the hype, and I hope you have a great weekend watching Jerry. What are you gonna lock down for the whole weekend?
I tried to. My kids kind of ruined that whole thing, but try to talk them into going to bed at 5:30 and leaving me alone for the rest of the night to watch the draft. We'll see how that goes.
How old are they?
They're 2 and 4. They don't understand how important of a day it is.
Yeah, you may need like 2 or 3.
They don't understand how important really anything is. They just
No, that's true.
everything is their own world.
Listen, you want to get them to understand the importance. You show them some tape of Vita V running the 40, and they'll understand right away.
Fear of God in their eyes.
I'll try that this week.
But listen, we all hope that you were all entertained by our college football trivia. We got good feedback on the trivia sections before, so we want to thank Dan again for coming on. And any closing thoughts here, boys, before we wrap up episode 42?
I said last week, hopefully the Sixers, by the time we tape this episode, the Sixers would have swept and the Celtics would find themselves in a dogfight with the Hawks. So I'm just hoping that Atlanta keeps winning. And the Phillies, 1 game out of 500. I mean, we're getting Bryce Harper back soon. So hopefully, we're playing Houston. So hopefully we can win a series against Houston. And, things are still looking good in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mentioned all the suspensions and injuries in the first round. I forgot to mention DeJounte Murray also got suspended now for game 5. So that looks like it'll be wrapping up tomorrow, I would imagine.
Oh, I take back what I said.
But right. So game 1 looking to be Saturday.
Yep.
Saturday and then Wednesday is what I'm seeing.
Well, hopefully Atlanta can pull out some magic out of a hat and at least win one more game, but
We'll see.
that'll happen.
But until then, we're going to drop that beat.